Callum lifted a champagne flute at 8:17 p.m. in the middle of his new kitchen, right between the marble island and the sliding doors that opened onto the deck. "Why euro Yuto, my sister Mara?" "Why euro," he said, smiling like he had practiced it in the half-bath mirror. "Why euro Meme? She one day forgive me for becoming a homeowner before she stopped renting." "Why euro?" A few people laughed, because that was what people do at housewarmings when a man in a navy blazer gives them permission. My Aunt Tessa covered her mouth with 2 fingers. "Data, euro S, lender friend." Brent Holloway tapped his glass against the neck of his beer. My mother looked toward the catered trays like the stuffed mushrooms needed supervision. Callum kept going. "Why euro Shay euro has been very concerned about records and filings and all that legal assistance stuff." "Why euro," he said. "Why euro you but, I promise. Mara, the house is real. You euro, re-standing in it. Why euro?" More laughter. 52 names on the guest list. I knew because I had seen the seating chart on MoMA's kitchen counter 3 days earlier with Y euro Briar Lane Welcomia. Euro written across the top in gold marker. Tonight, those 52 people had tracked wet leaves through Kalama's foyer, set bottles of wine on his dining room buffet, and told him the place looked expensive in the best way. I stood near the sink with a plastic cup of ginger ale warming in my hand. I had worn the green dress Mom said was Y euro Gless Courthouse, and I regretted it because the thin belt had twisted sideways under my ribs. My brother looked happy. That was the part that made me hesitate. He looked like a man who had finally stepped into the picture our father had been describing for years. Then I saw the folded notice. It was tucked under the black wire mail tray beside the refrigerator, partly hidden by a stack of glossy welcome cards from neighbors. The top corner showed the county seal, blue and sharp, and beneath it the words Y euro tax lien, noticia euro, in the same block font. I saw every week at the office when we pulled recorder entries for attorneys. I did not touch it right away. Dad was watching me from the other side of the island. Gordon Quinn could smile at a room while tracking one persona euro S hands. He had sold houses in 3 counties for 26 years, and he treated closing packets like weather reports, something to discuss warmly and then step around. Callum raised his glass higher. "Why euro kakum on Mara. Toast with us. No title search at the party. Why euro," I made myself lift my cup. The ginger ale fizz had gone flat. "Why euro congratulations." "Why euro," I said. It came out quiet, and that somehow made it worse. Callum leaned closer to Brent and said, "Why euro C. She can say it. Why euro." Dad laughed first. That gave everybody else a cue. I set my cup down by the sink and took 2 steps toward the refrigerator as if I were looking for a napkin. The kitchen smelled like lemon polish, roast beef sliders, and the vanilla candle Mom had placed near the stove, even though nobody was supposed to light candles near paper plates. My fingers brushed the edge of the mail tray. The notice was folded in thirds. The county seal was on the outside panel. The address line showed 38 Briar Lane. Under that, in smaller print, I could see Y euro Quinn, Callum R, and a parcel number beginning with 1408. Before I could pull it free, Dad was beside me. "Why euro Olive, the mail alone. Mara." "Why euro," he said softly. He did not sound angry. That was one of his skills. He sounded reasonable, almost amused, as if I had reached for a cookie before dinner. "Why euro Gia euro M. Not going through his mail." "Why euro," I said. "Why euro Jua euro redoing that face. Why euro you hut face. Why euro you hut face. Why euro the paralegal face? The one where you make a problem because a form has a stamp on it? Why euro?" Behind him, Callum was accepting a cutting board from our cousin Leela. Someone had tied a red bow around the handle. The tag said, "For the first real Quinn house." I remember that because I stared at it longer than I should have. Dad shifted his body just enough to block the tray from the room. "Why euro Anadia filled your head with nonsense." "Why euro," he said. That was the first time he had said Nadia Shoriero's name that night. Nadia worked title support at Harborside Title, 2 floors below my office. At 12:36 p.m. that afternoon, she had texted me, "Pull the county records yourself before you go. Donna euro T rely on Gordana euro S version." I had not answered her then. I was afraid answering would make me the kind of sister Callum had just described. Dad picked up the mail tray with both hands and moved it to the pantry counter, behind a row of unopened seltzer cases. "Why, euro atonite is for your brother." "Why, euro," he said. "Why, euro let him have one clean night." "Why, euro," I looked past him at the pantry door, still open by 3 inches. The folded notice sat under a grocery coupon and a white envelope with a notary stamp visible through the plastic window. A notary stamp. That was when my thumb found the edge of my phone in the pocket of my dress. I did not pull it out. I stood there while Callum called for everyone to come see the finished basement, and I followed the group down the hallway, counting the framed photos on the wall because counting was easier than answering my father out loud. There were 7 photos. In 5 of them, Dad had one hand on Kalama Euro's shoulder. The basement smelled like fresh paint and the lemon spray Kalama Euro's girlfriend had used on the bar counter. People were making the polite noises people make in a new house. Tapping the granite with 2 fingers, opening the sliding door to admire a yard they had already seen from upstairs. I stood near the laundry closet with my plastic cup of ginger ale, trying to keep my face neutral. That was a skill I had been practicing for 11 months at Weiss, Harrow in Kent, the small law office where I worked as a junior paralegal. My desk was the one outside Conference Room B, wedged between the scanner that jammed every Tuesday and a gray filing cabinet labeled probate, civil, real estate. I was 22, which meant clients sometimes handed their coats to me before they handed me their intake forms. I did not mind that part. I minded when they assumed I had not read the deed, the docket, the lien release, or the ugly paragraph on page 6 that made their problem harder. Most days I did the work. Nobody put on a billboard. At 8:05 a.m., I unlocked the front door, turned on the copy machine, and checked the court calendar. By 9:30, I was usually matching case numbers to stamped envelopes. In the afternoons, I pulled recorder records from the county site, typed legal descriptions into demand letters, and made sure names were spelled the same way on affidavits, mortgages, and tax forms. It was dull until it was not. One wrong middle initial could delay a closing. One unreleased lien could make a buyer a Euro S moving truck sit in a driveway while everybody blamed the title company. That was why Nadia Shore Euro S text at 12:36 p.m. had stayed open on my phone all afternoon. Pull it yourself, Mara. Dona Euro T rely on what Gordon says was why Euro cleared. Why Euro checked the parcel and the grantor index. Nadia worked at Harbor Title, 2 blocks from our office, and she did not send dramatic texts. She sent screenshots with arrows and file numbers. When she warned me, I believed the warning before I believed my own confidence. I had tried to call Dad at 12:44. He let it ring. At 1:02, I called Callum. He answered with music in the background and said, "Why Euro Omara, if this is about some title thing?" Dad handled it. "Please Dona Euro T start tonight. Why Euro Gia Euro M?" Not trying to start anything, why Euro, I said. Sitting in the office break room beside a vending machine that only took quarters. Why I just need to know whether anyone pulled the county tax records after closing. Why Euro? He laughed once, short and tired. Why Euro, do you hear yourself? Ita Euro, es my housewarming. Why Euro? That was the part that always made me smaller than I wanted to be. Confident men did not have to raise their voices, they just sounded inconvenienced. And suddenly I heard my own questions as sharp, nosy, embarrassing. So I went to the party with a wrapped set of kitchen knives from Target, the gift receipt tucked under the tape, and I told myself I would not mention the lien unless I saw something with my own eyes. Then I saw the county notice on the mail tray. If paperwork has ever made you the problem in your own family, comment your city. Hit like and subscribe if a public record ever made you look difficult to people hiding from it. I want to know where people are watching from, because every county has a counter, a clerk, and some records somebody hoped you would be too polite to pull. At 8:23 p.m., I stepped out of the basement bathroom and found Dad waiting near the bottom stair, one hand resting on the banister like he owned that too. Why Euro Omara, why Euro, he said softly, smiling past me at a couple from his brokerage office. Why Euro Jew need to stop wearing your work face. Callum can see it. Why Euro, why I saw a tax lien notice upstairs. Why Euro. His smile stayed, but his fingers tightened around the wood. Why Euro Jew saw mail. At a party. Why Euro Pitt had the parcel number. Why Euro Pabeka's mail has numbers. Why Euro. He leaned closer and lowered his voice. Why Euro Jua? Euro Ria Paralegal. Sweetheart, you are not the county. Why Euro from the bar? Callum called. Why Euro Udad? Come do the toast. Why Euro? Dad patted my shoulder twice, the way he did when I was 12 and had asked why Moma's name was missing from the lake cabin deed. Why Euro grab a drink? Why Euro, he said. Why Euro packed? Happy for your brother. Why Euro? He went to the bar, lifted a champagne flute, and the 52 guests started turning toward him. I stayed by the laundry closet, my phone in my palm, Nadia Euro S text still waiting behind the lock screen. Dad always knew where to stand in a room. At 38 Briar Lane, he chose the strip of new oak flooring between the kitchen island and the French doors. where the afternoon light hit the champagne glasses and made the whole place look more expensive than it was. He tapped his flute with the back of a spoon. Why euro Paul right everybody? If I can have you for just 1 minute. Why euro? Callum leaned against the island in a navy sweater with the sleeves pushed up like he had just come from approving blueprints, even though the dishwasher still had the yellow energy guide sticker on it. His girlfriend Tessa stood beside him holding a small stack of cocktail napkins printed with Home Sweet Home, 38 Briar Lane in gold ink. She kept checking that the napkins faced outward. Mom was at the sink rinsing a serving spoon, although the spoon looked clean. She did that when Dad started talking, made herself useful in the background. Dad sold, Callum received, Mom smoothed. I stood near the laundry closet with my phone locked in my hand and my gift bag at my feet. Why euro Yuto, my son? Why euro Dad said, lifting the glass toward Callum. Why euro at 26 years old, a homeowner, a man who understands that you don't wait for permission to build a life. Why euro? A few people clapped. Callum smiled at the floor first, then raised his chin like he had practiced humility in a mirror. Dad went on, why I remember taking him to open houses when he was 7. He would run straight to the biggest bedroom and announce, why euro this Onya euro s mine? Why euro, why euro? Why euro that still sounds like him. Why euro Tessa, euro s uncle said. And people laughed. Dad loved that kind of laugh. The one that told him the room was with him. He pointed toward the hallway. Why euro, no look at him. Primary suite upstairs, guest room ready, backyard big enough for summer dinners. And he did it in a market where people twice his age are still making excuses. Why euro? I looked down at my shoes because that line landed too close to where I was standing. I rented half of a duplex on Mercer Street with a radiator that clanged at 5:10 every morning. Dad knew that. Callum knew that. Half the family knew that because Mom had mentioned it over Thanksgiving stuffing. With sympathy that felt like a receipt being read aloud, Callum lifted his beer. Why euro a Mercer has character. Mara. Why euro? That got a smaller laugh, mostly from his friends near the pantry. I gave him a tight smile because I still had not learned how to challenge a joke without sounding like I was proving the joke. Dada. Euro eyes moved to me for 1 second, then away. Why? Euro wand, of course. Every family has someone who worries over the fine print. Why? Euro. The glass in my hand was only seltzer, but I set it on the dryer behind me because my fingers had started pressing dents into the plastic cup. Dad smiled wider. Why, Euro Pimi daughter Mara, our legal eagle, called me before the party with concerns. Very official concerns. Parcel numbers, county notices, all those thrilling things. Why Euro? Callum covered his face with one hand like I had sent a singing telegram. Why Euro Udad? Why Euro? I said, quiet enough that only the woman near the cheese board turned. He kept going. Why Euro? No. I respect caution. I do. But sometimes caution is just fear wearing reading glasses. Why, euro, more laughter. Not huge, just enough. Enough for my cousin Brent to say, why euro athata? Euro S going on a mug. Why euro? I looked at Callum, waiting for him to cut it off. He took a pull from his beer and gave me a look that said, please do not make this weird in front of my lender guy. I knew who he meant because Dad had already introduced him twice. Peter Lask, gray blazer, loafers without socks, standing by the fireplace with a square plate of shrimp. Dad lifted his flute higher. YSO Leota. Euro S toast Callum, who signed the papers, took the leap, and didn't a Euro T let anxious opinions stop him. May this house be full of friends, food, and people who can be happy for you without checking the Recorder Euro S office first. Why Euro? The laugh came louder that time. Heat climbed into my face before I could stop it. Callum raised his bottle toward me. Why euro, all of you Mar? Even if you are the jealous renter tonight. Why euro, there it was. Neat and public. Wrapped as affection so I would look small if I objected. Tessa touched his arm fast. A warning or a correction, I could not tell. Mom turned from the sink with wet hands and mouthed, let it go. I bent to pick up my gift bag. The white tissue paper brushed against the laundry closet door, and the Target receipt slipped halfway out of the card envelope. I pushed it back in with my thumb. My phone buzzed once. I looked down. Nadia Shore, if they are Euro resaying, ETA, Euro S, nothing. Ask for the title search receipt. Tax liens don't a Euro T vanish because a broker says why Euro Udeming issue. Why Euro? I read it twice. Then opened my phone with my passcode across the room. Dad was accepting handshakes like he had closed a deal. Callum had moved to the fireplace, one arm across Peter Laska Euro S shoulders. showing him the built-in shelves. I did not walk over. Not yet. I stepped into the short hallway by the powder room, where the music from the kitchen dulled against the new drywall. The house still smelled like paint under the candles. I opened the county recorder website in my browser and typed Briar Lane into the property search field with my right thumb. The loading circle spun against the weak Wi-Fi. From the kitchen, I heard Dad say, "Why as he means well. She just gets nervous around big decisions." I kept my eyes on the screen until the search results appeared. The first result was not the deed. It was a county tax lien indexed under Quinn Properties Consulting with a related party note to 38 Briar Lane. The filing date sat there in plain text. May 3rd, recorded at 9:14 a.m., 3 weeks before Kalama Euro's closing. I touched the screen to keep it from dimming, and the hallway light flickered above the coat hooks. I had seen that exact line before. 2 weeks before the closing, I had gone to the Recorder Euro's office on my lunch break because Nadia Shore told me to stop relying on screenshots. The office was on the second floor of the county building, between traffic fines and marriage licenses, with old tile floors that made every shoe sound impatient. I remember balancing my tote bag against my knee while a man in a paint-splattered hoodie argued softly with the cashier about a plat map fee. Nadia was waiting near the public terminals with a blue folder under her arm. She worked for Bayline Title, and she always dressed like she expected a closing to go sideways. Black slacks, cardigan, flats, pen clipped to her collar. We had met through work, when my supervising attorney sent me to pick up certified copies for a boundary dispute. Nadia liked that I checked document numbers twice. Why Jew said your brothera s buying Briar. Why she asked. Why Atherday Briar Lane. Why I said. Why Udada s handling it. I am just trying to understand why he asked me for a written savings pledge. Why she looked toward the counter before answering. Why Pashaumi, what he gave you. Why I pulled the folded paper from my bag. It was not even on letterhead. Just a one-page repayment agreement Dad had typed himself. My name, Mara Quinn, was listed as pledging $22,000 toward temporary family liquidity to be repaid within 90 days of closing. There was a notary stamp at the bottom, gray and smudged, from a mobile notary named Janice Pell. Dad had brought it to my duplex on Mercer Street after dinner and said, "Why s. Just comfort paper. The lender likes to see family support. Why Nadia, read it without touching the signature line." Then she slid into the plastic chair at Terminal 4 and typed faster than I could follow. Why start with grantor grantee. Why she said. Why thon tax liens, then judgments. Do not start with the property card, because those can look clean when the indexed documents are not. Why stood behind her shoulder, feeling too much like a kid asking a grown-up to explain a bill. The search results loaded in a white grid. Nadia clicked one line and leaned back just enough for me to read it. County tax lien debtor, Quinn Properties Consulting. Amount, $18,740.63. Taxing authority, county treasurer. Cross-reference, Briar Lane escrow file, pending conveyance. Recorded May 3rd, 9:14 a.m. Instrument, no, 24 to 51,883. Why Athada. S Data S Brokerage LLC. Why I said. Why I figured. Why Nadia replied. Why wand. This cross-reference means someone in escrow flagged it against funds tied to the transaction. It doesn't automatically mean the house can close, but it means a title person had to deal with it. Why Udad told me he cleared everything. Why youth. What receipt? Why I did not answer quickly enough. Nadia printed the search page. The printer behind the counter coughed out 2 sheets, and she walked over with 3/4 already in her palm. The clerk stamped the receipt in purple ink. Record search, $6, tax lien index, Bay 4 terminal. Nadia handed me both pages and lowered her voice. Why IF Gordon says this is nothing. Ask for the release, not a promise. Not an email saying ETA S being handled. The release. Why I folded the paper into my notebook. Why we LL. Say IA M, making it sound criminal. Why Yita S public record. Mara. Public record is allowed to sound inconvenient. Why At 1:08 p.m., while I was still outside the county building under the awning, I texted Dad a photo of the first page and wrote, "Is there a release for this lien before closing?" He called within 30 seconds. Why are you at the Recordera Euro's office? Why he asked. I remember the traffic signal changing from red to green across the street, and 3 cars not moving because the first driver was looking at his phone. Why Euro Anadia said I should check the index. Why Euro, I told him. Why Euro Anadia is a title assistant. She doesn't Euro T know the whole deal. Why Euro, IC knows how to read the tax lien index. Why Euro, he breathed out through his nose. Why Euro, Tethys, is exactly why I didn't Euro T. Want too many hands in it, you get one document and build a courthouse drama around it. Why Euro? Is there a release? Why Euro? Other will be what there needs to be. That sentence had stayed with me for 14 days. Now, in Kalama Euro S hallway, with coats pressing into my shoulder and Dad laughing in the kitchen like he had already repaired the story. The same instrument number glowed on my phone. 2405-1883. I backed out of the result and opened my photos. My thumb found Nadia Euro S printed search receipt, the one I had kept because paper made me braver than memory. The purple stamp was still readable. From the kitchen, Callum said, Why Euro Uaria Euro Dimara, go. Why Euro? Dad answered. Why Euro? Probably checking Zillow so she can tell us the curtains are a liability. Why Euro? People laughed. A glass clinked against the counter. I pressed Nadia Euro S contact and typed IA Euro M at the housewarming. Same lien is still showing. Can you confirm if a release was ever recorded? 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. Her reply came at 7:42 p.m. No release in the index as of yesterday. Do not let them make you say it was cleared unless they show the recorded release. I read Nadia Euro S text twice, beside the half bath, with some Badia Euro S toddler knocking a plastic truck against the door from the hallway. Why Euro occupied? Why Euro I called? And my voice came out too sharp. The truck rolled away. I put my phone face down on the little marble shelf over the toilet and looked at myself in the mirror. Callum had replaced the old medicine cabinet with one of those backlit mirrors that made everyone look like they were being filmed for a renovation show. On the counter sat a tray of rolled guest towels tied with twine. My mother had probably arranged them. From the kitchen, Dada Euro's laugh carried over the music. Why Euro Omara gets dramatic about paperwork. Why Euro, he was saying. Why Euro as he works in a law office now. So every form looks like a federal case. Why Euro is he, people laughed politely. I washed hands I had not needed to wash and opened the bathroom door. The hallway outside the half bath lead past the laundry room to a small office Callum had been calling Y Eurotha, Dina Euro all night. Earlier, he had pointed at it with a beer bottle and said, Y Euro a future command center. Bills, fantasy football, maybe a Peloton if I get ambitious. The door was half closed now. A stack of coats had slid off the guest bed across the hall, and someone had dropped a diaper bag against the baseboard. I bent to pick up a gray wool coat before it got stepped on. When I lifted it, a blue folder on the narrow console table beside the den shifted and spilled 3 papers onto the floor. I knew I should have left them there. I also knew the top page had my name on it. Mara Quinn appeared in capital letters under a paragraph titled Savings Pledge and Family Repayment Agreement. The paper was dated March 14th, notarized by someone named Denise R. Malloy. Commission expiration September 26, 2026. My address was listed as my old apartment on Kilmer Street, where I had not lived since May. I crouched there with the wool coat hooked over my forearm, reading fast because footsteps were moving in the kitchen. The agreement said I had pledged up to $12,000 from my credit union. Savings as Y Euro temporary family support for escrow reserves. Payoff items and closing-related expenses €1 for the purchase of 38 Briar Lane. It said, Gordon, Quinn would repay me within 180 days of closing. It said Callum Quinn acknowledged the pledge as a Y Euro family contribution relied upon for loan comfort. Y Euro loan comfort. I stared at that phrase until it stopped looking like English dot. There was a signature line for me at the bottom. It was blank. Beside it, in blue ink, someone had written, Y Euro who confirmed verbally MQ 3/15 per GQ. That was the part that made me stop crouching and sit back on my heels. On March 15th, Dad had called me while I was in the parking lot outside Maple and Dunn, the firm where I worked. I remembered because I was eating a granola bar for lunch and trying not to get crumbs on my black pants. He had asked, why Euro Jews still have that savings cushion, right? Just in case Callum needs to show family backup for a few days. Why Euro? I had said, why I canna Euro. T promise anything without seeing what it is. Why Euro? He had said, why Euro gafe. Of course, nobody a Euro-S touching your money. Why Euro? I had gone back inside to assemble exhibits for a custody hearing. I never signed a pledge. I never sent a bank statement. I never agreed that my savings could make a lender or a title company feel better. A second page lay under the agreement. It was an email printout from escrow, sent April 2nd at 8:16 a.m. The sender was K. Velasquez at Harborgate Escrow. The subject line read, Quinn, Callum, 38 Briar Lane, reserve support and lien item. The email body had a line highlighted in yellow. Please confirm whether Mara Quinna Euro-S pledged reserve funds remain available if county lien payoff is required prior to recording. My fingers went cold around the edge of the paper, but I kept reading. Beneath the highlighted line was Data S reply, printed on the same chain. Mara is on board. We are handling internally. Do not alarm buyer. GQ. Do not alarm buyer. Callum was the buyer. My brother was 30 feet away, accepting compliments beside a charcuterie board. And Dad had written to escrow like Callum was a child who might break if shown a bill. I heard my mother in the hall. Why Euro Haas? Anyone seen the extra napkins, Gordon? Did you put them in the office? Why Euro? I slid the email and the agreement back into the blue folder, but my hands were clumsy and the corner of the notarized page caught on the folder prong. I took out my phone, opened the camera, and snapped 2 photos. The first was blurry. I forced myself to take another, straight down, with the date and notary stamp visible. Then I saw the third page. It was a photocopy of a credit union balance screen from February, not a statement. Just a cropped printout showing an account ending in 4,417 and a balance of $12,846.22. My account? I had sent that screenshot to my mother in February when she asked whether I was Y Euro Udoing okay after rent went up. She had texted back a heart and told me she was proud I was saving. The hallway floor seemed suddenly too public. I put everything back in order, set the blue folder exactly where it had been, and stood with the gray coat still over my arm. Mom appeared at the kitchen end of the hallway holding a stack of floral paper plates. Why Euro other you are? Why Euro, she said. Her eyes flicked to the console table. Why Euro you hut are you doing back here? Why Euro picking up coats? Why Euro, I said. She looked at the coat, then at my face. Why Euro, Omara, tonight is not the night. Why Euro? I had not accused anyone yet. I had not even asked a question. From the living room, Callum tapped a spoon against a glass. Why Euro, everybody? Quick toast. Why Euro, he called. Why Euro, before Dad starts his official speech. Why Euro, Mom stepped closer and lowered her voice. Why Euro, please be kind to your brother. Why Euro? I tucked my phone into my back pocket with the photos on it and walked toward the living room, where 52 guests were turning toward Callum and his new fireplace. I stopped at the edge of the living room, between a stack of housewarming cards on the console table and a folding chair someone had dragged in from the garage. Callum stood in front of the fireplace with a beer in one hand and a spoon in the other. Behind him, the mantel had 3 framed photos already arranged on it. One of him shaking hands with Gordon in front of the sold sign. Why Euro uffers? Why Euro, Callum said. Why Euro, a thank you all for coming to 38 Briar Lane. I have officially joined the adult class. Why Euro? A few people laughed. Aunt Celia lifted her plastic cup and said, Why Euro? No more rent receipts. Why Euro? Callum pointed at her. Why Euro? Exactly, no more begging some landlord to fix a dishwasher from 1998. Why Euro? I felt several people glance in my direction because I had complained about my apartment dishwasher at Easter. It had backed up twice and my landlord had sent his cousin with a wrench and no parts. Gordon stood near the kitchen archway with his jacket off, sleeves rolled, enjoying it. He had that open house smile he used with clients, chin up, eyes moving from face to face like he was counting approvals. Callum went on, Why Euro wand, I need to thank Dad. He walked me through offers, inspections, the whole boring paper mountain. If anybody wants a broker who can actually get things done, you know who to call. Why Euro? Why Euro Udana, Euro T. Say boring paper mountain in front of Mara. Why Euro, Gordon said, loud enough for the room. Why Euro Shay, Euro LL. Make you initial every napkin. Why Euro, more laughter. I kept one hand on the back of the folding chair. My phone felt heavy in my back pocket, even though it was only 3 photos and a black case. A man from Kalama Euro's office, Trevor, leaned toward me from the couch. Why Euro Jua Euro Re, the legal one, right? Why Euro paralegal? Why Euro, I said. Why Euro, so you read the scary fine print? Y euro yai, read recorded documents, mostly, Y euro. He nodded as if that was the same thing as sorting coupons. Y euro good skill. Probably makes dating fun. Y euro. Mom gave me a quick look from beside the bookcase, a warning look, then smiled at Trevor as if he euro D complimented me. Callum raised his glass higher. Y euro pulso. I want to say this because family pushes you. Some people were worried I was moving too fast. Some people thought maybe I should wait, rent longer, stack cash, stare at county websites until I turned 40. Y euro. A few heads turned again. My ears went hot. I looked at the rug under the coffee table, gray and cream, the tag still tucked under one corner. Callum grinned. Y euro G but. If I listened to every jealous renter in the family, IAD still be touring one bedrooms with coin laundry. Y euro there it was. Not shouted, not cruel enough that a guest would feel responsible for noticing, just polished into a joke. The room gave him the easy laugh people give when they do not want to check whether the target is smiling. Gordon lifted his glass. Y euro Uto ownership. Y euro Uto ownership. Y euro several people answered. I did not drink. I had a paper cup of lemon water from the kitchen island, and I set it down on the console table because my hand was squeezing it out of shape. Nadia stood near the hallway with her purse still on her shoulder. She had come late from work and had not taken off her title company badge. She met my eyes for 1 second, then looked down at my back pocket. She knew I had found something. She also knew this was exactly the sort of room where a document could be made to sound like a personality flaw. After the toast, people moved again. The lender friend, a tall man named Ross with a silver watch, stepped beside Gordon by the sliding doors. I heard Ross say, Y euro Kuklian close though, Thata. Euro S what matters. Y euro Gordon answered. Y euro Kuklian enough. County systems always lag. People get dramatic when they don't know euro T understand timing. Y euro. I walked toward the kitchen to get away from the fireplace. Mom followed me past the tray of stuffed mushrooms and lowered her voice. Y euro Mara, you have to let your brother have his night. Y euro why I didna euro T say anything. Y euro you didna euro T have to. Your face does that legal thing. Y euro. I opened the trash drawer and dropped in my bent cup. Y euro moom. There are county records on this house that matter. Y euro. She looked toward the living room before answering. Y euro jar, father said Ida. Euro S handled. Y euro you hot. Does handled mean? Y euro pit means dona. Euro TB legalistic at a party. Y euro. Gordon appeared behind her with 2 empty beer bottles between his fingers. Y euro a thaddy is exactly right. Y euro I turned toward him. Y euro udad I saw the folder. Y euro. His smile stayed in place, but his eyes moved to the hallway. Y euro you hut folder. Y euro mom asked. Y euro the blue one. Y euro I said. Y euro youth the repayment agreement. Y euro. Gordon stepped closer, not touching me, just filling the space by the dishwasher. Y euro Omara. This is what I mean. You see a working draft and turn it into a courthouse drama. Y euro pit had a notary stamp. Y euro D drafts can be notarized when families are coordinating funds. Y euro. That was not true in the way he meant it, and he knew I knew. I started to say so. Then Ross laughed loudly in the living room and Gordon flicked his eyes that way. Y euro jar brothera. Euro S lender contact is here. Y euro, he said quietly. Y euro you Callum needs relationships. Not a scene about terminology. Y euro terminology. Y euro Lien. Pledge, reserve, whatever words scared you. You work around lawyers all day. Dona euro T, bring that tone into my Sona euro S house. Y euro my Sona euro S house. He said it while standing in a kitchen where my savings screenshot had been printed and clipped into a folder without asking me. Nadia came in under the pretense of rinsing her hands at the sink. She turned on the faucet and said, softly, Y euro Omara. Do you still have the title search receipt from this morning? Y euro. Gordon looked at her badge. Y euro wand, you are. Y euro. Y euro Unadia Shore. Y euro, she said. Y euro Harbor Gate title. Different apartment from escrow. Y euro. The faucet ran over her fingers for 3 seconds too long. Then she turned it off and dried her hands on a paper towel printed with little gold keys. Gordona euro S voice flattened. Why euro tease is a family conversation. Why euro Nadia tossed the towel into the trash. Why euro thun aya euro ll. Stay out of the conversation, but receipts. Dona euro t care whose party it is. Why euro? Gordon looked at Nadia for 2 seconds too long, then smiled like he had decided she was furniture. Why euro enjoy the spinach dip. Why euro, he said. He walked out of the kitchen through the narrow archway, clapping once to get attention in the living room. Callum had set up 12 gray folding chairs in 2 rows facing the fireplace, as if the housewarming needed a stage. The place smelled like wet latex paint and lemon floor cleaner. Someone had missed a strip of Painter's tape along the baseboard near the hallway. And every time the front door opened, the blue tail of it fluttered. I stayed by the counter with my plastic cup in my hand. The counter was temporary, plywood with a white laminate sheet laid over it, and it bowed slightly under 3 trays from the deli. Nadia stood beside the refrigerator, scrolling on her phone with her thumb, then turned the screen toward me just enough for me to see the county website loading. Why euro udana euro t? Pull it up here. Why euro? I whispered. Why euro geo euro m not? Why euro? She said. Why euro geo euro m? Checking the recording time from this morning. You bought the search at 9:42. If anyone starts saying this was gossip, that matters. Why euro? I hated how relieved I felt hearing a Callum stomp. From the living room, Callum said, why euro everybody? Before food disappears, I want you to meet Ross. Why euro? Ross stood near the fireplace in a navy vest with a tiny bank logo stitched over the chest. He held a beer by the neck and lifted it like a microphone. Was too much trouble. I recognized him from one dinner at my Parenza Euro condo. The kind of man who remembered interest rates and forgot waiters euro names. Why euro Eukaluma euro s? Been a model borrower. Why euro? Ross said. Why euro? Organized. Responsive. Family support. That is how people get keys. Why euro? A few people clapped. My Aunt Diane said, why euro? Hear that, Gordon? Why euro? And Gordon laughed too loudly. On the far end of the kitchen counter, beside the microwave, I noticed a tan folder tucked under a stack of paper plates. It was not party clutter. It had a green sticker on the tab, the kind escrow offices use when a file has been scanned. The corner of one page stuck out, and the printed line at the bottom read Briar Lane Escrow. Preliminary disbursement worksheet. My fingers tightened around the cup. Nadia noticed where I was looking. Why euro Omara? Why euro? Why euro Gia? Euro M? Just looking. Why euro? Why euro? Athada euro S. Their file. Why euro? Why euro Yita? Euro S on the counter. Why euro? Why euro Athada? Dazana euro T, make it yours. Why euro? She was right, and I hated that she was right. At the office, I would have told a client the same thing. Public record was public record. Summon Air euro S escrow folder under paper plates was not an invitation. Then my mother came in carrying an empty chip bowl. Why euro Omara? Help me refill this instead of hiding. Why euro? Why euro Gia euro M? Not hiding. She opened the pantry cabinet, which had no shelves yet. Only a cardboard box of snacks on the floor. Why Eurojar brother has worked hard for this. Gordon is trying to keep the afternoon pleasant. Why Euro Moom? There are Euro S paperwork by the microwave. Why Euro? Her hand paused over a bag of tortilla chips. Why Euro Pit Shana? Euro TB out. Why Euro? I said. She did not turn around. Why Euro Yita Euro S? Nothing you need to touch. Why Euro? That was not the answer I expected. I expected confusion or irritation. The speed of it made the folder feel heavier from across the room. In the living room, Ross was saying, why Eurotheus is what lenders like to see. Stability, community, a borrower with people behind him. Why Euro? Callum spotted me through the archway and grinned. Why Euro Omara? You can come here this ITA. Euro S educational. For when you decide renting Isna Euro TA personality. Why Euro? A couple of cousins laughed. One of my Dada Euro S brokerage friends, Larry, looked at me over his wine cup and raised his eyebrows like I should play along. My mother shoved the chip bowl into my hands. Why Euro take these out? Why Euro take the bowl into the living room? Because refusing would have made me the scene they already wanted. New paint fumes gathered near the ceiling fan. There were 50 or so people spread through a house that still had outlet covers missing. People balancing plates on their knees and complimenting rooms that contained one rented rug and a folding table. Ross pointed his beer toward the hallway. Why Euro wand once the last escrow items are cleaned up? This will be a very tidy file. Why Euro cleaned up? Why euro? I asked before I could stop myself. Gordona Euro's head turned. Ross gave me a polite lender smile. Why euro teen items? Taxes, insurance, verifications, old releases. Houses always come with paper trails. Why euro? Callum said. Why euro? O'Mara reads one county website and thinks Shay Euro S, the Auditor General. Why euro? I set the chips on the folding table. Why a county lien is not the same as an insurance verification. Why euro? The laughter thinned, but it did not stop completely. Someone coughed. Ross looked from me to Gordon, then to Callum. Gordon stepped closer, lowering his voice while keeping his smile on for the room. Why euro? O'Mara kitchen. Why euro? I did not move right away. I looked at Ross. Why euro? Did you review a repayment agreement tied to my name? Why euro? His beer hand dropped an inch. Kalama Euro's grin slipped, then came back crooked. Why euro? Uda, it is. The jealous renter speech. Why euro? Behind him, the microwave beeped in the kitchen. 3 sharp sounds. My mother had put something in and forgotten it. The tan escrow folder still sat beside it, half hidden under paper plates, and Gordon was already walking toward it. Gordon reached the microwave before I did and slid the tan folder under his forearm like it was a coaster someone had left on a clean table. Why euro? Cacoful dad. Why euro? Callum said, laughing too loudly. Why euro? Athada, euro S, boring bank stuff. Why euro? Why euro? Exactly. Why euro? Gordon said. He tapped the folder twice with his knuckle, then turned back toward the kitchen island. Why euro? Boring bank stuff is how adults build lives. Why euro? A few guests chuckled. Someone near the patio door said, Why euro? Pamin. Why euro? The microwave beeped again. My mother hurried over with a dish towel, opened the door, and pulled out a glass bowl of spinach dip that had separated at the edges. Steam fogged her glasses. She set it on a cork trivet beside a stack of blue paper napkins that said, Welcome home in silver letters. Gordon lifted his plastic cup. Why euro? Sisons? Ross started us off. Why euro? He said. Why euro? Gia euro LL. Add one thing as Kalama Euro's father. This house proves what IAAV always said. Quins take care of their own. Why euro? He looked around the room as if he were showing a property to buyers, making eye contact, checking reactions. His blazer sleeve brushed the folder, and I saw the corner of a page inside it. A printed line with Briar Lane escrow services and a date from the previous week. Why euro? When one of us is ready to step up, Gordon continued. Why euro? W Dona, euro T stand on the sidelines, nitpicking. We pitch in, we make calls, we vouch for each other. We Dona, euro T, let fear dress itself up as research. Why euro? That last part landed near me. It was not shouted. It did not need to be. 3 women by the breakfast nook looked over, then away, pretending to examine the tray of stuffed mushrooms. Callum leaned against the sink, grinning at the attention. Why I told Mara she should buy next. Why euro? He said. Why euro? As he knows where to find all the scary paperwork. Why euro? A man I recognized from Gordona Euro's office. His name tag from Quinn Realty still clipped to his shirt pocket, laughed and said, Why euro? Asked that Euro's what clerks are for. To scare young people out of owning. Why euro? I almost answered him. I had the receipt in my purse, folded between my phone and a packet of gum. I could picture it without opening the zipper. County clerk and recorder. Public Terminal 3, 9:42 a.m. Search fee, $12. I had paid cash because my debit card had been acting strange at the gas station that morning. Nadia stood near the hallway, half blocked by a tall floor lamp that still had a price tag hanging from the shade. She wasna euro T, laughing. She held her cup with both hands and gave me the smallest shake of her head. Not a warning to stay quiet, exactly. More like, wait until you can name the document. Gordon kept talking. Why euro? You Callum, didn't a euro T get here by accident? Why euro? He said. Why euro? Hey, saved. He listened when people with experience told him how real estate actually works. And when the paperwork got complicated, his family stood behind him. Why euro? My mother nodded fast. Why euro? Athada. Euro S, right? Why euro? The phrase stood behind him, pressed against my ribs. In March, Gordon had asked me for a savings pledge letter. He said Ross needed it for why euro comfort. Why euro? Not for filing, not for underwriting. Just proof that family support existed if timing got tight. I had written 1 paragraph at my desk after work on letterhead I should not have used, then retyped it on plain paper because I knew better. I pledged up to $14,000 from my savings if Callum needed temporary help before closing. Gordon said it would stay in his file. Now Ross had gone quiet. He stood by the sliding door, thumb moving over his phone screen, no longer performing lender confidence for the room. Gordon raised his cup higher. YSO Leo de Euro. S. Stop pretending concern is always noble. Sometimes Ida Euro S envy. Sometimes Ida Euro S someone seeing a brother get blessed, and deciding the blessing must have a defect. My Aunt Patricia said, Why Euro? Ewell said, Gord. Why Euro? I looked at Callum. Why Euro you dead? You ever see the pledge letter? Why Euro? His smile flickered. Why Euro you hut? Why Euro? Why Euro the one Dad asked me to sign in March. Did you read it? Why Euro? Gordon lowered his cup an inch. Why Euro Omara? Why Euro? Callum glanced at Ross, then back to me. Why I saw a family support note. Why are you doing this right now? Why Euro? Why Euro Pabecus Ross just said family support. Why Euro I said. My voice came out flatter than I expected. Why Euro want Dad just said Quins stand behind each other. I want to know if anyone told you there was a repayment agreement with my name on it. Why Euro? The Quinn Realty man stopped chewing. My mother set the dish towel down carefully beside the spinach dip. Why Euro Tease is not the place. Why Euro? Gordon smiled with only the front of his face. Why Euro other is no repayment agreement for you to worry about. Why Euro Nadia moved then. She crossed from the hallway to the island and set her cup down next to the napkins. Why Euro Gordon? Why Euro, she said quietly. IF Ida, Euro S, the Briar Lane file. The title company asked for clarification because the agreement was notarized. Why Euro? He turned his head toward her so slowly that I noticed the tiny scar under his chin from an old shaving cut. Why Euro? Jew must be mistaken. Why Euro? He said. Nadia did not look at me. She looked at the folder under his arm. Why? I typed the request. Why Euro? Why Euro? Jew typed what? Why Euro? Callum asked. He said it lightly, but he had crossed from the kitchen island toward us with his red plastic cup lowered to his waist. Behind him, Aunt Celia was still holding the serving spoon over the pasta salad. Ross stood near the patio doors, one hand on the back of a bar stool, staring at the tan folder like it might make noise. Nadia finally looked at Callum. Why a clarification request to Briar Lane escrow? It referenced a repayment agreement connected to Mara Euro S pledge. Why Euro? Gordon laughed once, too quickly. Why Euro Anadia? You Euro re a title assistant, not counsel. You see words on screens all day. You don't always know what they mean. That one landed in a familiar place. I had heard versions of it at my own job from attorneys who forgot I was the one who pulled the docket entries they relied on. Still, I felt my mouth go dry. There were 52 people in that house, and suddenly I could count the ones who were listening. Mr. Ellis from next door, 2 of Kalama Euro S, gym friends, his lender friend Ross, my cousin June with her phone half raised, and my mother, who was wiping an already clean counter with a paper towel. Callum gave me a tight smile. Why Euro Omara? Come on. You Euro returning my housewarming into a record seminar. Why Euro? Why I asked about a document. Why Euro? I said. Why Euro? Jew asked about my title in front of my guests. Why Euro? Why I asked Dad why my name was in an escrow request. Why Euro? He made a face like I had proved his point. Why Euro Tethys is what I mean. You would understand ownership if you stopped renting and actually had something on the line. Why Euro? A few people chuckled because they thought they were supposed to. Someone near the hallway said, Why Euro watch? Why Euro? Under his breath. The red cup in Kalama's hand made a soft crackling sound where his fingers pressed into it. I looked down at my shoes because I needed a second to stop myself from apologizing for standing there. My black flats were on the edge of the gray kitchen mat, beside a fallen lemon wedge from the drink station. It was such a stupid detail to focus on, but it kept me from shrinking. Why I pay rent? Why Euro? I said. Why Euro one time? That is having something on the line. Why Euro? Callum lifted both hands, still smiling. Why Euro Gia Euro M? Not attacking you. IA Euro M saying you Euro VA. Been weird about this house since I got the keys. Why Euro? Why Euro Jew got the keys on May 3rd? Why Euro? I said. Why Euro? The clarification request was dated April 26th. Why Euro? Gordona Euro SI's moved to mine. For the first time that afternoon, the charm thinned. Callum looked between us. Why Euro? Why do you know that? Why Euro? Why Euro Quebec? Because Nadia warned me to check the record before I came here. Why Euro? That made my mother stop wiping. Nadia took a careful step away from the island. Why Euro? Yeah, I told her to search the county index because the escrow email mentioned an unresolved tax item. I didn't Euro T send her anything confidential. I told her where public records are. Why euro? Gordon said. Why euro TS is absurd. Why euro? Ross cleared his throat. Why euro Gordon? If they're a euro S a tax item, the lender should have seen it. Why euro? Why euro Jew did see it. Why euro Nadia said. Rossa euro S face colored. He adjusted his watch strap and looked toward the patio, where 3 kids were tossing ice cubes into the flower bed. Why I saw a conditional note. It was supposed to be cleared before closing. Why euro Kalama? Euro S smile finally dropped. Why euro U-Hut tax item? Why Goran turned his body so his shoulder blocked the folder. Why in 01 is discussing financing details at a party? Why are euro? Why euro? Jew toasted financing details 10 minutes ago. Why euro? I said before I could overthink it. Why euro? Jew said Quins take care of their own. Why euro? Aunt Celia lowered the serving spoon into the bowl with a wet tap. Callum pointed his cup at me. Why euro? See. That jealous little tone? Why euro? There it was, the word he had been circling since I walked in. He raised his voice a notch, enough to reach the living room. Why euro? O'Mara thinks because she works near legal papers, she can march into my house and act like I stole something from her. Shay euro S mad because I bought before she did. Why euro? Why euro Gia euro M? Mad because my savings pledge is being treated like collateral. Why euro? I said. Why euro Pitt was a family support letter. Why euro Gordon snapped. Why euro Tin show the folder. Why euro? He did not move. The front door opened behind the entryway wall, and cold air slipped down the hall. A womana euro's voice said, Why euro? Excuse me. Is this 38 Briar Lane? Why euro? Everyone turned in pieces. First Nadia, then Ross, then Gordon. Slower than the rest. Ellen Price stood on the tile by the coat rack in a Navy County jacket, holding a white envelope and a clipboard with a green carbon receipt clipped to the top. Her gray hair was pinned flat against the wind, and she looked annoyed in the practical way of someone who had already been to 3 wrong doors. Why euro Gia euro M Ellen Price from the county clerk and Recadera euro S office. Why euro? She said. Why I have a certified copy request for Mara Quinn. Why euro? My name sounded strange in her voice, official and ordinary at the same time. I stepped around the kitchen mat. Why euro Athada, euro S me. Why euro? Ellen checked my license against the form on her clipboard. Why euro Jew ordered the tax lien search at 2:14 p.m. for parcel 0941738. Briar Lane. Why euro? Why euro Jize? Why euro? She handed me the envelope. The county seal was stamped in blue across the flap, and the receipt showed $12 paid by debit card. Callum stared at the envelope. Why euro Jew brought a county clerk to my house? Why euro Jew? Ellen glanced at him over her glasses. Why euro as he paid for counter pickup? Your address was listed as the delivery location because Thada euro S, where she confirmed she would be after 4. Why euro? Gordon said very softly. Why euro Omara? Why euro? I slid my thumb under the sealed flap. For once, I did not ask permission. The flap tore crookedly because my thumb caught on the glue. I had to set the envelope on the kitchen island, beside a tray of stuffed mushrooms and Kalama euro S blue folder of appliance warranties, and open it with the butter knife someone had left near the cheese board. Ellen Price did not reach for the papers. She only said, Why euro you certified copy is first. Receipt is behind it. If anyone needs the office stamp, ETA euro S at the lower right. Why euro? The first page slid out face down. I turned it over and saw the county seal pressed into the corner, raised enough that my fingertip caught on it. Why euro tax lien? Why euro? I read. Because if I tried to explain it first, Gordon would fill the air. Why euro you recorded. April 18th, parcel 0941738. Property address, 38 Briar Lane. Why euro? Ross Ketter Kalama, euro S lender friend, moved closer until his belt buckle almost touched the island. He had stopped smiling. Why euro May? I see that. Why euro May? I see that. Why euro? Gordon stepped between us with a casualness that was too practiced. Why euro gross? This is exactly what I was telling you. Mara works around legal forms all day, and sometimes young people see a filing and think it means the sky is falling. Why euro? Why I did not euro T say the sky was falling. Why euro? I said. Callum let out a short laugh from near the sink. Why euro Jew walked in with the county clerk. Mara. Why euro? Why I did not euro T walk in with her. She delivered a copy I paid for. Why euro? Ellen gave a small nod, then looked toward the hallway as if making sure her path to the door stayed clear. Gordon put his hand on the island, covering the top inch of the page without touching the seal. His gold brocura Euro S ring clicked against the quartz. Why Euro? Listen to me carefully. Why Euro? He said, low enough that the guests by the sliding doors only heard the music and the ice machine. Why Euro Ethis is a misunderstanding. A timing issue. You can say that. Why Euro? Why Euro? Say what? Why Euro? Why Euro? A thought. You misunderstood the Lien search. Why Euro? Rasa. Euro S eyes flicked to Gordana. Euro S hand. My father smiled then. The same smile he used in open house photos. Warm at the mouth and hard at the jaw. Why Euro? Just say it was an old record, still showing in the system. You were concerned, which is sweet. Ross stays comfortable. Callum gets to enjoy his housewarming. Nobody needs a scene over county lag. Why Euro? I looked down at the page under his fingers. The document was not old. It listed the tax collector as claimant, the recording date, the book and page, and the unpaid amount in a clean column. $7,842.19. Below that, in smaller print, was a release box with no entry. Why Euro Etheria Euro S? No release recorded. Why Euro? I said. Gordana Euro S smile thinned. Why Euro Pabecas Ita? Euro S being handled. Why Euro S being handled? Why Euro tin? The recorded copy should say that when Ita Euro S handled, why Euro he leaned closer. I smelled mint gum and the faint leather of his jacket. Why Euro Omara? This is family. Don't a Euro T embarrass your brother in front of someone who helped him get favorable terms. Why Euro? Ross took one step back. Why Euro Gordon? Why Euro? Gordon did not look at him. Why Euro Shay Euro LL clarify? Why Euro? The word bothered me more than if he had yelled. Clarify meant clean up his version. Clarify meant carry the risk in my own voice. From the living room, Aunt June called, Why Euro pair, we doing cake soon? Why Euro? Someone else laughed. The gold balloons over the fireplace bumped against each other in the air conditioning. On the counter, Kalama Ural's housewarming program cards were stacked in a neat pile. Welcome to Briar Lane printed across the top like the house had arrived without paperwork attached. I pulled the certified copy toward me until Gordon had to lift his hand or drag it across the county seal. He lifted it. Why I won't a Euro T. Say I misunderstood a document I can read. Why Euro Kalama Euro S face tightened. Why Euro Jua Euro really doing this right now. Why Euro? Why I ordered a search because Nadia told me the public index still had an issue. Ellen brought what the county has Theta Euro S. All IEA Euro M saying, Why Euro? Gordona Euro S voice dropped further. Why Euro? You are not listening. Ross is standing right here. Why Euro? I know why Euro. Why Euro wand? He does business with people who don't Euro T panic over clerical noise. Why Euro? Ross rubbed his forehead with 2 fingers. Why a recorded lien is not clerical noise. Why Euro? For the first time since Ellen stepped through the front door, my Federa Euro's expression broke. Only for a second, but I saw it. Irritation, then calculation. He turned toward Ross with both palms open. Why Euro? J of course. And we disclosed the conditional note. Why Euro? Why Euro? Jew disclosed there might be a payment pending. Why Euro? Ross said. Why Euro? Jew did not say a county lien remained unreleased after closing. Why Euro? Callum looked from Ross to Gordon. Why Euro? Why Euro? Gordon ignored him and pointed at the second page still inside the envelope. Why Euro? Omara? Take out the receipt. Show them you ordered this today. That proves Ita Euro S. Just a snapshot, not the whole picture. Why Euro? I removed the receipt. It had my name, the 2:14 p.m. timestamp, the parcel number, and the fee paid by debit card. Behind it was another folded sheet I had not expected, clipped with a yellow county slip. Ellen noticed my pause. Why Euro? A thought was included in the instrument packet because it was cross-referenced. Why Euro? Gordona Euro S hand came up fast. Why Euro? A thought one isna. Euro T necessary. Why Euro? A thought against my chest before he could touch it. Why Euro? You hut is it? Why Euro? Callum asked. I read the top line. My mouth suddenly dry from something more practical than fear. Why Euro? Unnotarized repayment agreement. Why Euro? I said. Why Euro? O dated April 21. Gordon stared at me as if I had opened his desk drawer in public. I kept the repayment agreement flat on the kitchen island, one palm on the bottom corner because the ceiling fan kept lifting the pages. It was 3 sheets, county copy paper, stapled once at the top left. The notary stamp was on the last page in blue ink. Lisa M. Varden, commission expiring December 2026. Callum reached for it first. Why euro Udana euro T smudge it? Why euro? I said, sharper than I meant to. He pulled his hand back and gave a short laugh, like I was making a scene over a grocery receipt. Why euro Omera ita s a copy? Why euro ita euro s a certified copy? Why euro Nadia said from beside the sink. She had her phone in one hand and the title search receipt in the other. Why euro glet? Her read it. Why euro? Gordon moved closer, close enough that I could smell the mint from whatever gum he had been chewing all afternoon. Why euro Tithias his family paperwork? We don't a euro T need to perform it for Ross and half the block. Why euro? Ross, the lender friend, had stopped pretending to look at the charcuterie board. He stood near the pantry door with his beer untouched. I read the first paragraph aloud because if I summarized it, Gordon would say I had shaded it. Why euro prepayment agreement between Gordon Quinn and Mara Quinn regarding pledged savings in the amount of $12,000 to be used as temporary support for escrow reserves related to 38 Briar Lane. Why euro Athata? Euro S. Not right. Why euro? I said. My mother, who had been quiet for almost 10 minutes, whispered, why euro Omara? Why euro? I looked at the signature line. My name was typed there. Under it was a signature that tried to look like mine if you had only seen it on a birthday card from across a table. I did not touch that page again. Kalama Euro's face changed in small steps. First impatience, then confusion, then a kind of annoyance that searched for somewhere safe to land. Why euro Jew pledged money for my house? Why euro? Why euro? No. Why euro? I said. Why I didna. Euro T. Why euro? Gordon put both hands on the island. Why euro Jew told me you euro D help if Callum needed it. Why euro? Why I said I had savings. Why euro? I said. Why euro? I said why I was in your office when you asked why I was still renting. I never signed this. Why euro? At 5:38 p.m., my phone buzzed on the counter. The screen said County Clerk and Recorder. Nadia saw it before I picked it up. Why euro? Answer it. Why euro? She said. I tapped speaker because I wanted every person who had heard the jealous renter toast to hear the same public record answer. Why Eurotheus is Mara Quinn? Why euro YG Ms. Quinn? This is Ellen Price with the County Clerk and Recorder's office returning your records call. You left a message about parcel 0941738 and a possible lien cross-reference. Why euro? Gordon straightened. Why euro Omara? Take that outside. Why euro? I shook my head once. My thumb was damp against the edge of the phone. And if you euro rewatching this and you euro VE ever been told you were overreacting for checking a record, type Y euro Uliana euro in the comments. I wish I had trusted that word sooner, because a lien is not gossip. It is a filing someone expects the public to ignore. Keep watching, because Ellen Price was about to read the filing number nobody at that party could charm away. I said, YG Ms. Price, IAM on speaker. Can you confirm only what is public record? Why euro? Why euro Jize? Why euro? Ellen said. Her voice had the patient flatness of someone who had survived 1,000 angry property calls. Why euro O for parcel 0941738, commonly indexed as 38 Briar Lane. There is a county tax lien recorded March 14th of this year. No release is recorded as of today at 4:52 p.m. Ross set his beer on the pantry shelf. I asked, why euro you can? You provide the filing number. Why euro? Ellen paused and I heard keyboard clicks through the phone. Why euro tax lien instrument number TL202-403-147782. Amount listed, $7,842.19. There is also a cross-reference note to document RA 202-404-211196. A repayment agreement recorded April 22nd. Callum looked at Gordon. Why euro Papril 22 was before closing. Why euro? Gordon said nothing. Ellen continued. Why euro the repayment agreement lists Gordon Quinn as obligor and Mara Quinn as repayment party. I cannot speak to validity of signatures over the phone. I can only confirm the recording data. Why euro? I leaned closer to the phone. Why euro Jubba was the agreement notarized. Why euro? Why euro? J's notary acknowledgement attached. If you believe there is a false signature, you should request a certified copy. Preserve the envelope and contact counsel or law enforcement. Our office cannot remove a recorded document without proper order or a corrected filing. Why euro? Gordona euro S jaw flexed. Y Euro T Theus is exactly why people shouldn't a Euro T play lawyer at parties. Y Euro for once. Nobody laughed. Gordon stepped toward the phone like he could block Ellen Price with his shoulder. I pulled it closer to me on the island, beside the blue bowl of tortilla chips and the folded title search receipt Nadia had given me at 3:18 that afternoon. Why, G, Ms. Price. Why, I said, and my voice came out smaller than I wanted. I cleared it. Why, Euro you can. You read the lien details. The tax year and parcel. Please. Ellen didn't a Euro T rush. Paper moved near her microphone. Why Euro the tax lien instrument. TL 202-4031-47782 was recorded March 14, 2024 at 10:07 a.m. tax year 2023. Parcel ID 1709438B006C2's address 38 Briar Lane. Owner of record at time of assessment. Briar Harbor Holdings LLC Y Euro. Callum looked at Gordon. Y Euro that? Was the seller Euro SLLC. Y Euro Nadia, still by the pantry door, had her work tote hanging from one shoulder. She said quietly, a seller lien can follow the parcel if it isn't a Euro T cleared at closing. Y Euro. Y Euro Gordon pointed at her. Y Euro Judona Euro T. Work for this family. Y Euro. Y Euro no. Y Euro Nadia said. Why I work with title files all day. Y Euro. Callum took 2 steps around the island, avoiding the puddle from Sumania Euro's melted ice near the drink bucket. Y Euro Udad did closing pay it. Gordon opened his mouth, then reached for the manila envelope on the counter. He did it too fast, knocking over a stack of white dessert plates. 2 plates skidded across the granite. My aunt caught one against her stomach. Y Euro Etheria Euro S. Always a lag. Y Euro Gordon said. Y Euro or release documents dona. Euro T appear instantly. Y Euro I looked at the phone. Y G Ms Price. Was there a release recorded after March A? Y. A's I stated earlier. I see no release of lien indexed to that instrument as of today. At 4:52 p.m. I can search by parcel again if you would like. Y Euro please. Y Euro. The house sounded different during those keyboard clicks. Down the hallway, someone was still laughing near the patio door, probably unaware that the toast had turned into a county record reading. The big gold 38 euros balloons bumped against the living room ceiling fan. Ellen came back on Y Euro parcel. ID 1709438B006. Shows deed recorded May 2nd, 2024. Warranty deed from Briar Harbor Holdings LLC to Callum Quinn. Deed instrument WD 2024. 05022209. Deed of trust recorded same date. No tax lien release in the grantor-grantee index or parcel index. Y Euro. Callum rubbed his thumb hard over the label on his beer bottle. Y Euro Udad. Y Euro. Gordon didn't a Euro T. Look at him. He looked at the guests gathered at the kitchen opening, then at the hallway where his lender friend Travis stood with a plastic cup and his realtor smile fading by degrees. Y Euro Gellin. Y Euro Gordon said, forcing a laugh into her name like they were at a networking breakfast. Y Euro TS is Gordon Quinn. You know how the recorder index can be. If escrow has a payoff email, that satisfies intent. Y Euro Elena Euro S-tone stayed flat. Why a payoff email is not a recorded release. Y Euro Nadia set her tote on the breakfast chair and pulled out a stapled printout. Y Euro Omara, show him the email. Y Euro. I had almost forgotten the extra page because the repayment agreement had taken up all the air in my head. I unfolded it from behind the receipt. It was an escrow message printed in black and white. Subject line, Briar Lane closing. Outstanding tax item and pledged funds. Sent April 18th at 9:42 a.m. from Maribel Chan at Harbor Key Escrow. The recipient line listed Gordona Euro S work email first. G Quinn at quinncoastalrealty.com. Then a settlement inbox. Then Kalama S old Gmail address. The one with his college soccer number. I read the first paragraph because my hands were shaking too much to summarize it cleanly. Y Euro Gordon, per our call, tax year 2023 lien remains open pending seller payoff confirmation. Buyer side file reflects temporary repayment agreement tied to Mara Quinna Euro S pledged savings letter. To be replaced by seller funds prior to disbursement. Please confirm family acknowledgement before final package. Y Euro Kalama, Euro S face tightened around the word family. Why I never saw that. Y Euro, he said. Y Euro Pit went to your Gmail. Y Euro Gordon said quickly. Y Euro Pimmy Gmail gets spam from sneaker sites. You handled the file. Y euro, a woman near the sink whispered. Y euro pledged savings letter. Y euro. I wished she hadn't a euro T said it, because that phrase made people turn toward me again. The jealous renter with a public record receipt in one hand and an email with my name in the other. Nadia reached over and tapped the lower corner of the page. Y euro Etheria euro S more. Y euro S below Marabola euro S signature was a forwarded line from Gordon to someone named Lisa Varden. Sent April 19th at 6:26 p.m. Lisa, need acknowledgement cleaned up and notarized Monday. Use attached repayment language. Mara is fine with helping Callum, but keep it simple. Closing cannot wait on county lag. I stared at Y euro Omara is Finia euro until the letters blurred at the edges. Doc Gordon reached for the printout. I moved it behind my back before thinking. It was the first smart thing my body did before asking permission. Y euro Athata. Euro S out of context. Y euro, he said. Ellen Price spoke from the phone on the island. YIF. That email relates to a recorded repayment agreement. You should preserve it with the certified copies. Y euro. Callum turned to me then, no performance left in his face. Y euro Omara, did you sign anything? Y euro. I looked at the notary block, the lien number, the parcel ID, and my Fathara euros copied email sitting in my hand. Y euro? No. Y euro, I said. Y euro want I did na euro T. Tell anyone to use my savings to make this house look clean. Y euro? Kalama. Euro S first answer came out too quickly. Y euro Udad handled the closing stuff. Y euro, he said. Y I signed where they told me to sign. You know how escrow packets are. Y euro. Gordon made a small sound near the island, almost a laugh, and reached for the folder like he was going to straighten the papers for everyone. I pulled the stack closer to my ribs. Y euro Udona. Euro T grab it. Y euro, I said. He stopped with his fingers still open. Ellen Price stepped between us with her canvas records bag hanging from one shoulder. Y euro Aletta euro S. Keep original handling to one person at a time. Mara, if those are copies, set them flat. If they are originals, Dona euro T fold them. Y euro Uthia euro recopies. Y euro, I said, though my hands still went careful at the corners. Behind us, the housewarming had thinned into separate pockets of whispering. Someone in the living room turned down the speaker, and the song cut off in the middle of a chorus. A cousin in a green sundress picked up 2 empty appetizer plates from the coffee table and then put them right back down, like she had forgotten why Shady moved. Nadia came in from the hallway with her phone and a small black notebook I recognized from the title office. It had yellow sticky tabs along the top edge. Why, I need to say something. Y euro, she said. Callum rubbed both hands over his face. Y euro Anadia, please Dona euro T. Make this worse. Y euro. Y euro Gia euro M. Not making the record. Y euro, she said. Y euro, the record already exists. Y euro, She opened the notebook and flipped to a tab marked BL38. Her handwriting was tight, slanted, and annoyingly neat. She held it low at first, then looked at Ellen. Y euro Tethys is my title exception note from April 19th, Nadia said. Y, I logged it after the preliminary search. I wrote, Y euro Open County Tax Lien, 2023, Parcel 1709438B006. Exception to be acknowledged by buyer unless release recorded prior to funding. Y euro Y euro. Callum shook his head. Y euro I thought was title jargon. I didn't a euro T know what any of that meant. Y euro, Nadia did not argue with him. She scrolled on her phone, tapped twice, and turned the screen toward him. Y euro Tethan. Why did you reply to my email? Y euro. The email showed in dark mode, but the words were clear enough when she enlarged it. The subject line read, Briar Lane, Exception Acknowledgement. The date was April 19th, 2024, 3:42 p.m. Nadia read it aloud, quietly and without any drama. Y euro you Colombe, please confirm you understand the lien remains an exception unless cleared before recording. Your response. Y euro dad says Ida, euro S being handled through Mara, euro S pledge and the repayment agreement. IA euro M fine to proceed, if lender is fine. Y euro Y euro. The air didn't a euro T do anything special. No gasp, no crash. Just my brother looking at the phone, then the countertop, then toward the sliding glass door where 3 of his friends stood with plastic cups and tried to pretend they were not listening. Why, I was repeating what Dad told me. Y euro Callum said. Y euro that is different from not knowing. Y euro Ellen said. Callum looked at her, irritated now, the way he got when a bill was higher than he expected. Why euro Gia, euro M, not a titled professional. Why euro, no one said you were. Why euro Ellen replied. Why euro ye but. You acknowledged an exception. Why euro Gordona. Euro S face tightened at the word acknowledged. He reached into his blazer pocket and took out his phone, then put it away when he saw me watching. I noticed small things because I needed something to do with my eyes. The housewarming program on the island had Kalama Euro's name printed under Welcome Home in gold foil. The edge of the cheese board had dried fig jam on it. My Feathera Euro S champagne flute was still half full, untouched since Ellen had read the Lien number. Callum turned to me. Why euro Omara? I didn't a euro T think your savings were actually involved. Dad said it was a comfort letter, like proof of family support. People do that. Why euro? Why, I didn't a euro T write a comfort letter. Why euro? I said. Why, I know that now. Why euro? Why euro? You knew enough to email Nadia that it was through my pledge. Why euro? His jaw moved, but he didn't a euro T answer. Nadia set her notebook on the island, open to the April 19th note. Why I also have the title search receipt. Why euro? She said. Why euro Pit was paid by Quinn Realty Services. Invoice number T4418. The request listed Callum Quinn as buyer contact and Gordon Quinn as broker contact. Why euro? Gordon spoke then, smooth and low. Why a title assistant to euro S? Personal notes are not a court proceeding. Why euro? Ellen turned her head to warn him. Why euro? No. They are contemporaneous business notes, if maintained in the course of work. And the receipt is a business record. More importantly, the lien is a county record. Why euro? Kalama, euro S cheeks went red. Why euro? So what are you saying? That I committed fraud at my own housewarming. Why euro? Nobody answered fast enough to save him from hearing how that sounded. I slid Nadia Euro's phone back across the island and looked at my brother Euro's new keyring beside the sink. It had a silver tag that said 38 Briar, probably from one of the guests. He had wanted a clean beginning so badly that he let Dad put other Peoplia S names under the floorboards. Why euro Geo euro M saying you opened the email. Why euro? I said. Why euro? Geo replied. You knew there was an exception, and when I asked questions tonight, you let everyone call it jealousy. Why euro? Callum stared at the gold program, then whispered. Why euro? Udad told me you were overreacting. Why euro? Gordona, euro S voice sharpened. Why euro? Pabecca, she was. Why euro? Ellen picked up the certified lien copy and tapped the bottom corner once on the countertop to square the pages. Why gee, Mr. Quinn, if there is a notarized repayment agreement tied to this pledge, now would be the time to produce a copy rather than describe your daughter's reaction. What? Gordon looked toward the front entry, where his leather briefcase sat under the coat hooks. And for the first time all night, he did not have a sentence ready. Gordon stayed by the kitchen island for 3 full seconds, staring at the briefcase like it had moved on its own. Then the house around us started adjusting. I heard the patio doors slide open behind me. Ryan Belkalama, Euro S lender friend from Summit Oak, had been standing near the breakfast nook with a plastic cup of sangria and his jacket folded over one arm. He set the cup on the windowsill without drinking from it. Why euro? I need to return a call. Why euro? He said. Nobody asked from who. He stepped through the patio door and pulled it shut, then took his phone out before he reached the first flagstone. Across the living room, Mrs. Alvarez from next door lowered her phone. She had been filming the whole thing in that half-proud, half-nosy way neighbors film at parties, catching the balloon arch, the new sectional, the awkward speeches. Her screen went dark. She put the phone into the pocket of her green cardigan and looked at the floor. Callum noticed that his face changed faster at the stopped recording than it had at the word Lien. Why euro? You can we not make this a spectacle? Why euro? He said. Ellen Price looked at him over her glasses. Why euro? The spectacle was a toast to 52 people about your sister being jealous of a house with an unresolved county filing. Why euro? Gordon finally moved. He walked to the front entry, past the line of shoes and gift bags, and bent at the waist to pick up the briefcase. He did not swing it like he usually did when he wanted everyone to know he was the man with the contracts. He carried it low, close to his thigh. When he came back into the kitchen, his voice had dropped into something flatter. No showroom warmth. No broker rhythm. Why euro? Theus was a family bridge arrangement. Why euro? He said. Why euro? Pit was never meant to be presented like fraud. Why euro? Nadia folded her arms. Why euro? Thon the paper should say that clearly. Why euro? Gordon placed the briefcase on one of Kalama Euro's new counter stools. The stool had a white cushion, still with a tag tucked underneath. He flicked the brass latches open with his thumbs. Inside were 3 blue folders, a legal pad with Quinn Realty Services printed across the top, a silver pen, and a bank envelope from Harborline Credit Union. I saw my own name before he touched it. Mara Quinn Pledge Repayment was written in black marker on the tab of the middle folder. My first stupid instinct was to wonder if my handwriting looked childish on official documents. Then I realized it wasna Euro T, my handwriting at all. It was Gordona Euro S block printing, the same way he labeled lockbox keys. Why Euro Udad? Why Euro, I said, and my voice came out quieter than I wanted. Why Euro Popinet? He didn't a Euro T look at me. He looked at Ellen. Why Euro TISQ is not for circulation. Why Euro TISQ's kitchen is not a records office. Why Euro, Ellen said. Why Euro you, but you have been asked about a document you brought to this address during a public dispute. You may show it, or you may decline. Declining will also be information. Why Euro Euro? Gordon pinched the folder at the edges and pulled out 4 pages clipped with a black binder clip. The top page was titled Repayment and Savings Pledge Agreement. Under that, in smaller type, it listed Gordon Quinn, Quinn Realty Services, Callum Quinn, and Mara Elise Quinn. My middle name on that page made my skin feel too tight. Ellen held out her hand. Why Euro may I? Gordon hesitated. Callum said, why Euro Udad? Just let her read it so we can be done. Why Euro? That was the first time all night Callum sounded less confident than annoyed. Gordon handed the agreement over. Ellen did not skim like a gossip. She read like a clerk. First the title, then the parties, then the dates. Her fingertips stopped halfway down page 1. Why Euro executed May 6th, she said. Why Euro unnotarized May 6th refers to a personal savings pledge in the amount of $18,000 to be held as evidence of available funds pending release of County Tax Lien number 24, Terra Liter 1187. Why Euro? Nadia Euro S eyes cut to me. I had never pledged $18,000 on May 6th. On May 6th, I had worked until 6:15, bought instant noodles at the pharmacy near the bus stop, and gone home to an apartment with a broken bathroom fan. Ellen turned to page 2. Why Euro paragraph 3 says Mara Quinn agrees not to contest temporary use of savings verification for escrow comfort, provided repayment occurs within 90 days of recording. Why Euro? Why Euro Athada? Euro S language. Why Euro Gordon said. Why Euro standard protective language. Why Euro standard protective language. Why Euro Nadia said. Sharp but controlled. Why Euro Athada is not standard. Why Euro Athada is not standard. Why Euro my mother, who had been standing near the pantry with a serving tray pressed against her stomach, whispered, Why Euro Gordon? Why Euro? He finally looked at her. Why Euro please? That was when Nadia reached for the bottom page. Why Euro Poe notarized it. Why Euro Ellen flipped to the notary block. The stamp was crooked, blue ink bleeding slightly into the paper. I could read it from where I stood. Lisa Varden, Notary Public, County of Westmere, commission expires November 30th. Nadia exhaled through her nose. Why I know that stamp. Why Euro? Gordona Euro S jaw tightened. Why a licensed notary witness signatures? Why Euro? Ellen looked at the page, then at me. Why Euro Omara? Is this your signature? Why Euro? She turned the agreement so I could see the last line. There it was. Mara Elise Quinn, in a slanted loop that wanted to be mine. The M was too tall, the Q curled the wrong direction. And the date beside it, May 6th, sat in blue ink under a signature I had never written. I took one step closer, enough to see the pen pressure. Why Euro? No. Why Euro, I said. Why Euro, I said, is not mine. Why Euro? Gordona Euro's hand moved first, quick and flat over the page, like he could press the signature back into being harmless. Why Euro Omara? Why Euro, he said under his breath. Why Euro step outside? Why Euro step outside? Why Euro? I kept my eyes on the agreement. The notary stamp was smudged at the left edge, but the name was still readable. Lisa Varden, commission expiration, February 2027. My alleged signature sat above it with a looped M that looked copied from the birthday cards I used to sign for Grandma. Callum was standing near the kitchen island with one hand around a sweating glass of iced tea. His lender friend, Mark Delaney, had stopped smiling. Nadia had her phone low at her side. Screen lit, not recording as far as I could tell. Just ready. Why Euro outside? Y Euro Gordon repeated. I looked at Ellen Price. She had not moved from the end of the island. Her canvas Clerk Euro S tote was open. The title search receipt visible in its plastic sleeve. Y Euro Yif, I go outside. Y Euro, I said. Y Euro Thea Papers, stay here. Y Euro Gordona. Euro S jaw shifted. Y Euro Affine. Y Euro. Nadia slid the repayment agreement away from him and tucked it under the county lien printout. Ellen placed her hand lightly on top of both pages, the way court clerks handle exhibits when lawyers start reaching. I followed Gordon through the dining room, past the folding table with the guest book and the silver marker. Callum had set out for everyone to write house advice. Someone had written, by a snow shovel, before November. Another person had drawn a little roof over Kalama's name. The side porch door stuck at the bottom. Gordon yanked it harder than he needed to, and the frame gave a dry pop. Outside, the porch smelled like wet cedar and lighter fluid from the grill. It was 4:46 p.m. because the kitchen clock was visible through the glass, hanging crooked above the pantry door. He turned before I had both feet on the porch boards. Why Euro Dodo? You understand what you Euro redoing? Why Euro? He asked. Why Euro Jize? Why Euro? Why Euro? No. Udona Euro T. Why Euro? He pointed toward the kitchen with 2 fingers. Why Euro Jua Euro recosting this family? You Euro re-embarrassing your brother in front of people who matter. Mark was considering 3 referrals through my office. Kalama Euro S rate lock is delicate. This is not some school project where you collect papers and feel clever. I folded my arms, then unfolded them because it made me look smaller than I wanted. My fingers were cold, so I pressed them against the porch rail. Why Euro? A thought signature is not mine. Why Euro? Gordon looked toward the driveway. A couple from his brokerage stood beside a black Lexus, pretending to check a text message. Their heads were angled toward us. He lowered his voice. Why Euro Juar? Focusing on the wrong point. Why Euro? Why Euro Yita? Euro S. The point with my name on it. Why Euro? Why Euro? The lien was going to be handled. Why Euro? Why Euro Pit? Wasna Euro T handled. Why Euro? Why Euro Pit was in process. Why Euro? Why Euro? The county record says open. Why Euro? He exhaled through his nose and rubbed the space between his eyebrows. I had seen him do that in restaurant booths when a server brought the wrong wine and he wanted to look patient. Why Euro? Do you think you know how these things work? Because you file packets for attorneys. Why Euro? He said. Why Euro? Other are relationships. There are understandings. Why Euro? Why Euro? Other is a lien number. Why Euro? Why Euro? Omara. Why Euro? Why Euro? Other is an agreement saying I pledged $18,000. Why Euro? His eyes sharpened at the amount, like I had said it too loudly. Why Euro? At that money was always for family. Why Euro? He said. Why Euro? Pit was for my lease deposit, my car repair, and law school applications. You told me to keep it liquid. Why Euro? Why Euro? Wand? I was proud of you for saving it. Why Euro? Mode the sentence annoyed me more than the yelling would have. It sounded rehearsed, like he was trying different doors until one opened. I looked past him through the porch screen. Inside, Callum had moved closer to the island. His party cup was on the counter now. Nadia was speaking to him, her hands calm, one finger tapping the line on the document. Ellen watched the hallway, maybe making sure no one left with anything. I heard myself say, quieter than I meant to. I wanted the lien to be wrong. Why Euro? Gordon blinked. Why Euro? Yeah, I did. Why Euro? I said. Why Euro? Wah? When Nadia first told me to check the tax index, I hoped she was being overly cautious. When Ellen printed it, I thought maybe there was a release that had not Euro T been scanned. When I saw your folder, I thought maybe the agreement would explain it cleanly. I wanted one normal answer. Why Euro? For a second, he looked tired instead of angry. Then he straightened his shoulders. Why Eurothon? Help me make one. Why Eurothon? I stared at him. He stepped closer, lowering his voice until it almost blended with the grill cover flapping in the wind. Why Geo? Back in there and say you misunderstood the lien. Say you panicked because you saw your name and didn't Euro T understand the repayment structure. IA Euro LL fixed the paperwork Monday. Callum gets through today. Mark stays comfortable. Your mother Dazana, Euro T, have to hear about forged anything in front of the neighbors. Why Euro? There it was, plain enough to write down. I touched the porch rail and felt a splinter catch the pad of my thumb. Why Euro Puo signed my name. Why Euro Gordona Euro S mouth tightened. Why Euro Puo took the agreement to Lisa Varden. Why Euro? He glanced once toward the kitchen window. Why Euro? A thought a euro s. Not useful right now. Why euro? Why euro pit is to me. Why euro? Why euro do you want useful? Why euro? His voice got harder. Why euro useful is not blowing up your brothera euro s closing after the fact. Useful is not making a county clerk stand in my Sona euro s kitchen like we euro recriminals. Useful is remembering who paid for your braces, your debate trips, your first laptop. Why euro? I nodded once, because the list was real. That was the worst part. He had receipts in his head for love. Then I said, why euro wand? Now you want a receipt for my silence. Why euro? Gordon stared at me like he was waiting for the daughter version of me to come back and clean up the sentence. The porch light clicked once above us, flickering against the brass 38 beside the door. Before he could answer, Callum opened the front door. He had a wine glass in one hand and the folded seating chart from the kitchen island in the other. The one Mom had made so the neighbors sat near the fireplace, and Gordona, Euro S broker friend, stayed by the food. His smile was still on, but it had thinned. Why euro you hut receipt for your silence? Why euro? He asked. Gordon turned halfway. Why euro go inside? Cal? Why euro? Why euro? No. Why euro? No. Why euro? Callum said. Why euro? Marm just got a call. Why euro? That was the first practical consequence. Not the yelling, not the toast. A call. Behind Callum, through the entry hall, I could see Mark Delaney standing near the coat closet with his phone pressed to his ear. He had stepped away from the living room, but not far enough. His blue blazer was too bright under the hallway light, and his free hand was covering his other ear. Nadia came up behind him with her clipboard against her chest. Ellen Price was beside her, still holding the county folder with the tax lien copy tucked into the left pocket. Mark ended his call and looked at Gordon first. Then Callum. Why I need everyone connected to the transaction to stop discussing this casually. Why euro? Gordon gave a short laugh. Why euro marm? This is family noise. Why euro marmic? Why euro marp is lender review now? Why euro Mark said. His voice stayed low, which made the words harder to dismiss. Why, I just spoke with my compliance manager. Because there is a recorded county tax lien that was not disclosed in the borrower explanation packet. And because there is a repayment agreement naming a third party whose authorization is disputed, we have to suspend comfort letters until legal reviews the file. Why euro? Callum blinked at him. Why euro comfort letters? Why euro comfort letters? Why euro? Why euro the informal assurance? I gave your agent that your post-close questions were routine. Why euro? Mark said. Why I should not have given it without seeing the full title follow-up. Why euro Gordona, euro S jaw worked once. Ellen stepped closer to the threshold. Why gee, Mr. Quinn. I also need to state this clearly. My office does not remove a tax lien because a borrower is embarrassed at a housewarming. The county correction process requires either a release from the taxing authority, a satisfaction filing, or a court order correcting an erroneous recording. Why euro? She opened the folder and tapped a page with one square fingernail. Why euro? The lien recorded March 14th at 9:22 a.m. Instrument number 2-403-14778. The legal description references Lot 17, Briar Ridge Subdivision, commonly known as 38 Briar Lane. If you believe the lien attached to the wrong parcel, you file a correction affidavit with supporting documents. If the debt is real, the release comes after payment is processed. Why euro? Callum looked from Ellen to Gordon. Why euro? Udad. Did you know the date? Why euro? Gordon said, I knew there was an old municipal issue being handled. Why euro? Why euro? A thought is not the same thing. Why euro? Nadia said. She handed me a copy of the escrow email. Her thumb rested near the printed header. Sent May 2nd for 17 p.m. subject line, Quinn repayment pledge and lien clearance. The email from Brightline Escrow said funds from Y euro Omera, Quinn savings pledgia, euro were expected to satisfy outstanding tax and fee balances before final lender sign off. I had read those words before, but on the porch. Under Kalama's house numbers, they became less abstract. My savings account had been turned into a cushion for men who did not want to slow down a closing. Mark looked at Callum. Why euro other may also be an escrow hold. Why euro Kalama, euro S face sharpened. Why euro feo much. Why euro? Why I cannot quote it on the porch. Why euro? Mark said. Why euro ye but. If the lien payoff was not properly documented, the servicer can require a holdback or demand proof of satisfaction. If a third-party repayment agreement was used in the file without valid consent, the lender may require a written explanation, corrected disclosures, and possibly a repayment demand to whoever represented those funds as available. Why euro? Gordon lifted his hand. Why euro? Nobody is demanding anything from my daughter. Why euro? I almost laughed, but it came out as a breath. Ellen turned to me. YG Ms. Quinn, if you believe your signature or pledge was used without authorization, you can submit a written statement to the Recordera as fraud referral packet. It does not prove a crime by itself. It creates a record. Bring identification, the notarized agreement copy, the title search receipt, and any bank statement showing whether funds moved or did not move. Why euro? Nadia added. Why euro want? Do it tomorrow morning if you can. Window 3 opens at 8:30. Ask for the real estate records supervisor. Why euro? Mom appeared behind Callum, clutching a stack of paper, dessert plates with gold rims. Why euro you can? We please not do this where people can hear. Why euro? Callum did not look back at her. He was staring at the escrow email in my hand. Why euro Omara? Why euro, he said. Quieter now. Why euro you deed? You signed that? Why euro? I looked at Gordon. He held my eyes like a warning. Then I looked at the notary stamp, the typed pledge, the date, the neat lie that had made everyone else comfortable. Why euro no? Why euro? I said. Why euro wand EAUR-M? Putting that in writing. Why euro? I did not make it to the dining room right away. I stayed on the porch with Ellen Price while she wrote 3 lines on the back of her clipboard, then tore off a yellow county receipt copy and handed it to me. Why euro Kokum to window 4 on Monday? Why euro, she said. Why euro gate 30 is better than 10. Bring originals if you have them. Copies if you do not. Do not hand that repayment agreement back to anyone. Why euro? Gordon stood 2 steps away, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking low enough that I could only catch pieces. Why euro? No. Mark. Shay S upset. She works around legal forms. So Shay euro S, making it bigger than it is. Why euro? I put the yellow receipt copy inside my black folder. Behind the title search receipt Nadia had printed for me at 2:14 p.m., Callum watched that small movement like I had put a lock on his front door. Inside 38 Briar Lane, the party had already started folding in on itself. The spinach dip had gone glossy at the edges. Someone had left a plastic fork stuck upright in the pasta salad. The gold housewarming banner above the kitchen pass-through was sagging on one side, the tape giving up. Callum Euro's friend Trevor carried a case of unopened seltzer toward the mudroom and mouthed, "Why euro sorry? Why euro?" like he wanted no part of anything recorded. Aunt Leela was scraping cupcakes back into the bakery box. The little cardboard sign that said Quinn House. Quinn Rules had frosting on its corner. 2 neighbors stood by the hall closet with their coats on, pretending to study the thermostat. Callum walked past them and went straight to the small ceramic bowl on the entry table. His keys were in it, on the blue real estate company keychain Gordon had given him at closing. He picked them up, then looked at me. "Why euro you can? I still keep these." "Why euro?" he asked. It was such a plain question that I almost answered like a sister instead of like a person whose name had been used on a document she had not signed. I looked at the keys first. Front door, mailbox, a brass one I guessed was for the side gate, and the tiny silver tag from the listing office. "Why Idona euro Tino? Why euro?" I said. "Why euro Athata? Euro S up to the lender, the title company, and whoever is holding escrow. Why euro?" His mouth tightened. "Why euro Ibute? I bought it. Why euro? Why euro Jew moved in? Why euro?" I said. "Why euro those are not always the same thing when title is under review. Why euro those hit," looked toward Gordon for rescue. Gordon had ended his call and was standing beside the kitchen island, one hand flat on the granite like he was studying the whole house by touching it. "Why euro Omara? Stop using office words on your brother. Why euro? Why euro Athea euro re?" The words on the email, "Why euro?" I said. Mom came in from the back patio carrying a tray of chicken skewers no one had eaten. "Why euro people are leaving because you keep saying Lien. Why euro? Why euro? No. Why euro?" Nadia said from behind me, still holding her purse against her ribs. "Why euro? People are leaving because the county clerk confirmed an active record in front of them. Why euro?" Moma Euro's eyes moved to Nadia as if she had just remembered there was an outside witness in the house. At 6:42 p.m., the doorbell rang again. Everyone looked over too quickly. It was not another guest. It was Mrs. Hanley from next door, a short woman in a green rain jacket, holding an empty glass serving dish. "Why euro Yai brought this back. Why euro?" she said. "Why euro Pulso? There are 3 cars blocking the shared drive. Why euro?" Callum took the dish because nobody else moved. Why euro sorry? We euro re-clearing out. Mrs. Hanley glanced at the banner, the untouched food, then the folder under my arm. She did not ask anything. That was almost kind. By 7, the 52 guests had become 11 people and a trash bag. Chairs scraped across the dining room floor. Someone turned off the speaker, cutting a song in the middle of a chorus. Gordon collected the program cards from the coffee table, the little printed ones Mom had made with Kalama, Euro's name, the date, and 38 Briar Lane in cursive. He stacked them face down, as if the party could be unmade by hiding the paper. I saw him slip one card into his jacket pocket. Why euro udana, euro tea. Why euro, I said. He froze. Why euro if you euro re-keeping souvenirs? Fine. If you euro recollecting names of who heard what. Donna euro tea. Why euro? Why euro? I euro a thought. Is a nasty thing to suggest. Why euro? Why euro yida? Euro s a specific thing to avoid. Why euro? Callum still held the keys. The metal teeth poked out between his fingers. Why euro Omara? Why euro, he said, quieter now. Why euro udid? Dad, really put your savings pledge into my file. Why euro? I looked at the kitchen counter. The notarized repayment agreement was there inside Elena Euro's clear sleeve, weighted down by a marble coaster. My alleged signature sat under the notary seal, clean and confident, like someone had practiced being me. Why euro athat is what the document says. Why euro, I told him. Why euro wand IAA euro M, saying I did not sign it. Why euro? For the first time that day, Callum did not call me jealous. He looked down at the keys and closed his fist around them without making a sound. Callum stayed in the kitchen with the keychain in his fist while I put the clear sleeve back into my tote. The party trash had a sour smell by then. Salsa cups and lemon rinds, and the wet paper napkins from the drink table. Through the patio door, I could see the last string of lights flickering against the fence at 38 Briar Lane. Gordon came back from the hallway with his phone in one hand and the folded housewarming program card in the other. He had written something on the back of it in blue ink. 3 names, maybe 4. I saw Y Euro Hanlia Euro before he tucked it into his shirt pocket. YWER, not doing this in front of the neighbors anymore. Why Euro, he said. Why euro? No one is in here except us, I said. Mom was at the sink rinsing a tray she had already rinsed twice. She would not look at the agreement. She kept turning the faucet on and off like she could interrupt the conversation with plumbing. Callum finally said, Why euro you can, I lose the house over this. Why euro? Gordon answered too fast. Why euro no, why euro? I waited. Because fast answers were how Gordon filled gaps. He did not want anyone else to notice. Callum looked at me. Why euro you can I? Why I dona euro T? No. Why euro I said. Why euro at that depends on what your lender, the title company, and the county records show Monday. Aline Desana euro T vanished because guests went home. Why euro? Gordon made a small laugh through his nose. Why euro? Listen to her. 22 years old and suddenly Shay S advising on title defects. Why euro? Why euro Gia euro M? Not advising. Why euro? I said. Why euro Gia euro M reading? Why euro? That bothered him more. Advice could be argued with. A recorded lien had a book and page number. My phone buzzed at 8:47 p.m. It was Nadia. You okay? Keep originals together. Do not hand Gordon anything. If you go Monday, ask Ellen for certified copies, not just printouts. I turned the screen toward Callum before Gordon could say I was hiding something. Callum read it, then looked at the clear sleeve in my tote as if it had become heavier. Gordon stepped closer. Why euro Omara? Your brother is asking a practical question. He has a lender relationship to protect. He has people who came here today. If you go to the clerk and start throwing around words like forgery, you make this bigger than it is. Why euro, you hoot word. Should I use for a signature I dinna? Euro T right. Why euro, a misunderstanding. Why euro, he said. There it was. Plain enough to fit on a form. He did not ask whether I was scared. He did not ask why my savings pledge had been attached to an agreement I did not sign. He asked me to choose a softer word, so Kalama Euro S lender friend stayed comfortable. Kalam rubbed his thumb over the metal keyring. Why Euro Udad did she sign it? Why Euro? Gordon looked at the sink, then at the patio door, then at me. Why Euro Jar's sister promised to help this family? She knows that. Why euro? I almost answered the way I had answered him for years, by making my voice smaller and my question easier to dismiss. Instead, I reached into my tote and pulled out the title search receipt. Nadia had printed at 2:14 p.m. The county seal was faint on the top corner, and my debit card authorization was stapled behind it. Why euro Tethys is what my caution looked like today. Why euro, I said. Why a receipt, a search, a Clerk euro S window. If that looks like jealousy, ask yourself who benefits from calling it that. Why euro? Mom turned the faucet off. No one apologized. No one confessed. The house kept making new house noises around us, ice maker clicking HVAC, pushing air through clean vents. The kind of sounds Callum had wanted everyone to admire. I zipped the tote and lifted it onto my shoulder. Why euro Gia euro LLB at window 4 at 8:30? Why euro, I said. Why euro yif? You want to tell the truth before Ellen Price stamps certified copies. You know my number. Why euro? At the front door, I stopped beside the welcome mat. A gift bag had tipped over there, tissue paper crushed under the bench. The tag said, T.O. Callum, proud of you. Why euro? I left it where it was. Before I drove away, I sat in my car and wrote one sentence in my notes app so I would not let Gordon rename the night for me later. Caution only looks like jealousy to people using your caution. If you EuroVE ever been called bitter, jealous, or dramatic for checking a receipt, a DAD, a bill, or a signature, tell me this. What did that label protect? Monday at 8:30. I was standing at window 4 with my tote strap twisted around my wrist and my phone face down on the counter. Ellen Price came out from the back room carrying a thin folder with a yellow sticky note on the front. Why euro Jua euro Ramara Quinn? Why euro, she asked. Why euro Jais? Why euro Gias? Why euro? She set the folder down and tapped the sticky note with one short fingernail. Why? Euro P20 certified copies of the county tax lien, one certified copy of the recorded release status page showing no release as of this morning, and a receipt. Keep the receipt with them. Why? Euro? I paid $18.50 with my debit card. The receipt printed crooked, and Ellen tore it off slowly so the top line stayed intact. It said 8:37 a.m. County Clerk and Recorder, Certified Public Records. She slid everything into a white envelope and stamped the flap with her office stamp. Why euro Dodo not let anyone tell you these are private family papers? Why euro, she said, low enough that the man at the next window could not hear. Why euro Dodo are public records? That does not mean you owe anyone the originals. Why euro? I thanked her and walked outside into the sharp morning light with the envelope under my arm like a file from work. At 8:52, Gordon called. I let it go to voicemail in the parking lot. His message was only 21 seconds. Why euro Omera? I need you to be reasonable today. Amana Euro S business reputation is not a toy. Call me before you send anything to anyone. Why euro? I saved the voicemail, emailed it to myself, and drove to the legal services office where I worked. At 9:41, Nadia sent me 3 screenshots from the title company Euro S escrow system. She had redacted the Byra S account numbers, but the subject lines were clear. Why Euro Briar Lane escrow? Borrower funds verification. Why euro Quinn family pledge letter? Why euro unpaid county tax item? Hold for broker response. Why euro? The third one was dated 6 days before the housewarming. Under the redactions, there was one line Nadia had circled in blue. Why euro broker states lien to be satisfied from family reimbursement after close. Do not alarm buyer. Why euro? I sat at my desk staring at that sentence longer than I should have. Then I printed the screenshots and wrote the time on the top right corner of each page. 9:48 a.m. I had learned at work that a page without context becomes an argument. A page with dates, source, and custody becomes harder to wave away. For 2 weeks, I did not hear from Callum except for one text asking, why euro OD'd you send dad stuff? Why euro? I answered. I sent you copies of records about your house. Dad has his own copies or can request them. Why euro? He did not reply. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, an envelope arrived at my apartment. No return name, just my address. In Kalama Euro S blocky handwriting. Inside was a cashier Euro S check for $3,000 and a folded sheet of notebook paper. Why euro Omara? This is part of what I owe you. IA euro M, still sorting out what dad told the lender. IA euro M, not admitting to the way you said it happened, but I know your money got pulled into it. Dona euro T cash. This if it means you euro LL post about me. Callum Y euro. I read that last line twice. He still thought reputation was something I might attack for sport. I put the cashier Euro S check on my kitchen table next to the notarized repayment agreement and took a photo before I deposited it. At the bank branch on Maple, the teller stamped my deposit slip at 4:16 p.m. I kept the paper slip in the same envelope as his note. That Friday, Gordona Euro-S broker office called me while I was labeling Discovery binders at work. The caller ID said Quinn Realty Group. I stepped into the hallway by the copier before answering. Why Euro TTS is Mara? Why Euro say a woman I recognized as Denise Gordona, Euro-S office manager, cleared her throat. Why Euro jar? Father asked me to confirm whether you have contacted the state licensing board. Why Euro? Why I haven't a Euro T contacted them. Why Euro? I said. Why Euro Poke? He also asked whether you intend to. Why Euro? Why Euro? I thought depends on whether he keeps using my name on financial documents. Why Euro? There was a pause. Then the soft click of a keyboard. Why Euro Geo Euro M? Just making a note. Why Euro? Why Euro? Please make the note accurately. Why Euro? I said. My voice shook on the last word, which annoyed me, but I kept going. Why Euro? Omara Quinn has not contacted the board as of Friday at 11:12 a.m. Mara Quinn will not discuss documents through Gordon Quinn at Euro-S staff. Why Euro? Denise exhaled through her nose. Why Euro Gia Euro LL? Right that? Why Euro? By the third week, Callum paid another $2,000 by electronic transfer. The bank portal memo said, why Euro Briar partial? Why Euro no apology? No explanation. Just 2 words and a pending balance that became available the next morning. I screenshotted the portal before the memo disappeared into the monthly statement. Gordon did not pay anything. He sent 1 email with no greeting and no signature. Why Euro Juar escalating a bookkeeping issue into a family lawsuit? Think carefully before you damage your Brothera Euro-S future. Why Euro? I printed that too. The stack on my desk was no longer one shocking lien. It was a pattern with timestamps, envelopes, emails, office calls, and partial payments. That made it less dramatic in one way and more useful in another. On the last Monday of the month, Nadia texted me at 7:06 a.m. Why Euro Gordona Euro-S office requested a courtesy meeting with Ellen Price. Not normal, thought you should know. Why Euro? I was brushing my teeth when I read it. I rinsed, dried my hands, and opened the folder where I kept the certified copies. The stamped envelope was still sealed. For once, I did not wonder if I was overreacting. I put the folder in my tote, zipped it shut, and checked the bus schedule to the county building. The bus dropped me 2 blocks from the county building at 9:12. I walked past the bronze statue in the plaza, past the smokers by the courthouse steps, and through the side entrance where the security guard always made everyone put keys in the gray plastic trays. My tote went through the scanner with the folder inside. I watched it come out on the rollers, because by then I had become the kind of person who watched paper like it had legs. Ellen Pricea Euro-S office was on the 2nd floor behind a glass window with a taped sign that said, certified copies, $4 first page, $1 each additional page. Nadia was not at the counter that morning. A young clerk with a silver nose stud was helping a man record a mechanic's lien. I took a number from the red dispenser and sat under the bulletin board where someone had pinned a notice about property fraud alerts. At 9:28, Ellen opened the half door beside the counter and said, why Euro Omara Quinn? Why Euro? I stood up too fast and almost dropped my tote. She did not smile much, but her voice was steady. Why Euro Kakuman back? 5 minutes before my 9:35. Her office smelled like toner and black coffee. On her desk were 3 stacks of file jackets, a mug with pens in it, and my certified copy receipt from the day before clipped to a yellow intake sheet. Why, I received a voicemail from your father at 7:46 this morning. Why Euro, she said, sitting down. Why Euro, asked whether I would meet with him as a courtesy. Quote, broker to clerk, to clarify a family misunderstanding. Why Euro? I took the folder out of my tote and placed it on my knees. Why Euro pair? You going to? Why Euro? Why Euro? No. Why Euro? She said. Why Euro Yif? He has a records question. He can stand at the counter like everyone else. If he has a legal argument, he can hire counsel. Why Euro? I nodded. And then I did something I had been avoiding since the housewarming. I opened the folder to the oldest paper in it, the family pledge agreement. It was not the notarized repayment agreement from later. This was the early one, the one Gordon had brought to my apartment 8 months before, folded inside a real estate brochure for Briar Lane. It was 1 page, printed from his office, with my name typed wrong in one place as Y Euro Umaria. Y euro, I had signed it on my kitchen counter beside a bowl of rice and a half-read paralegal textbook. I remembered the pen. Blue ink, hotel logo, almost dry. Why I need to say this out loud. Y euro, I told Ellen. I signed the first pledge to casually. Y euro, she waited. Y euro, I was 21. My dad said Callum needed a family support letter so underwriting would understand the down payment trail. He said it wasna euro T alone. He said no one would touch my account unless the purchase closed clean. I did not ask why the line said Y euro available reimbursement source. I did not ask why it had my savings balance rounded to the nearest thousand. Ellen picked up the copy when I handed it to her. She read with her glasses low on her nose. Y euro this document is vague. Y euro, she said. Y euro that does not make you stupid. Y euro, why, I know. Y euro, I said, though I only half did. Y euro but. I signed because it was family and because he was confident. And because he made questions sound rude. Y euro. Ellen set the page down. Y euro that is a costly way to be polite. Y euro, the sentence landed more usefully than sympathy would have. I took out a sticky note and wrote, read before love signs. It looked childish sitting on the certified Lien packet, but I left it there. At 9:36, Alina Euro's next appointment knocked once and peered in. She lifted one finger toward the door, then turned back to me. Y euro other is something else. Y euro, she said. Y euro jar father did not only call. He also sent a letter by courier. It came in at 9:05. She opened the top drawer of her desk and removed a white envelope with the broker office return address printed in the corner. It had already been date-stamped by the Clerk of Euro's office. She slid out the letter and placed it flat between us. Gordona Euro's signature was at the bottom in the thick black marker he used at closings. The letter said he was requesting an administrative notation that the tax lien had been Y euro misinterpreted by a non-party family member a euro, and that any informal statements made by me should be Y euro treated as withdrawn. Y euro, my name was typed 3 times. I read the second paragraph twice. My face felt hot, but my hands stayed steady enough to take a picture. Y euro cannot withdraw my statements. Y euro, I said. Y euro, no. Y euro, Ellen said. Y euro cannot. And this office will not alter a recorded document because a broker is embarrassed at a party. Y euro, I put the early pledge back in order, behind the lien and ahead of the escrow email. For the first time, I saw the whole chain as more than what Gordon had done. It also showed the place where I had handed him my trust without reading the label. At 9:41, I left Elena Euro's office with a photocopy of Gordona Euro's courier letter and a new receipt stapled to it. Outside, on the second floor landing, I stopped by the trash can, uncapped my pen, and wrote one sentence across the top of my pledge. Copy, no more signatures to make confident men comfortable. Then I folded it carefully, put it back in the folder, and took the stairs down instead of the elevator. By 10:18, I was in my car outside the county building with the folder on the passenger seat and my phone buzzing in the cup holder. Callum had texted 3 times. Dad says you filed something else. Mara, stop making this worse. Can you just call me? I stared at the windshield for a minute, then drove to Harbor Federal Credit Union on Maple. I had opened my savings account there when I was 16, with Gordon standing behind me telling the teller I was Y euro responsible for her age. Y euro that morning. The lobby smelled like carpet cleaner and coffee from the little machine by the brochures. A banker named Luis called me to his desk at 10:46. I showed him my license and asked to open a new savings account with no linked family contacts, no authorized users, and no mailed statements to Gordona's office address. He turned the monitor slightly toward himself and said, Y euro other are no authorized users on your current account. Y euro, why I know. Y euro, I said. Why I want the new account anyway. Y euro. He nodded without asking for a family explanation. That alone felt like a luxury. I moved $11,400 into the new account and left $312 in the old one until my payroll deposit switched. Luis printed a confirmation page with the last 4 digits of the new account, then slid it across the desk. Y euro, would you like a note on the profile that changes require in-person ID? Y euro. Y euro jize, Y euro, I said too quickly. Then I slowed down. Y euro, please. Y euro. At 11:32, I sat in the parking lot and called my landlord, Mrs. Feld, because my lease renewal had been sitting on my kitchen counter for a week. I had delayed signing it after Callum Euro's housewarming, embarrassed by the thought of another year in my small 1-bedroom above the pharmacy. Mrs. Feld answered on the third ring with the dishwasher running in the background. Y euro Gia euro M, checking whether Unit 3B is still available for renewal. Y euro, I said. YIT is Y euro, she said. Y euro, same rent if you sign by Monday. I left the papers in the mail slot. Y euro, Gia euro LL, sign today. Y euro, you sure? I know your family was looking at houses. Y euro, I looked at Harbor Federale euro S brick wall, at the neat receipt in my lap, at the folder with Ellen Pricea euro S stamp inside it. Y euro Gia euro M sure. Y euro, I said. Y euro te apartment works for me. Y euro. On my lunch break, I walked from my office to the post office and mailed copies of Gordona euro S courier letter, the notarized repayment agreement, the escrow email, and the title search receipt to the State Real Estate Commission. I did not write a dramatic cover letter. I wrote dates, names, parcel number, and one sentence at the end. I am requesting review of whether my father used my signed pledge and later attempted to alter the public understanding of a recorded tax lien. The clerk weighed the envelope, stuck the certified mail label on the corner, and handed me the green receipt. I put it in the folder behind Elena Euro's photocopy. At 5:19 that evening, Callum was waiting outside my apartment building, leaning against the railing by the Pharmacia Euro's side door. He wore the gray quarter zip from the housewarming, but it looked less crisp after work. Why I didn't a euro T know about data euro S letter. Why euro, he said before I reached the steps. I kept one hand on my tote strap. Why euro Jelena euro S office date stamped it. He rubbed his thumb over his phone screen. Why euro Anadia sent me a screenshot of the lien index. She said I needed to stop asking you to clean this up. Why euro Anadia is right. Why euro Callum looked toward Briar Lane traffic, though we were nowhere near his house. Why euro the lender friend is asking questions now. Why euro thought a euro less between you, your lender, and dad. Why euro Jua? Euro really going to let the commission look at him. Why unlock the lobby door? Why euro Gia euro M? Not letting them do anything. IA euro M giving them documents. Why euro? He swallowed, then nodded once. Why euro the toast was stupid. Why euro pit was useful. Why euro I said. Why euro 52 people heard. Why I was supposed to be quiet. Why euro he didn't euro T have an answer for that. Upstairs, I signed my lease renewal at my kitchen table with my own blue pen. I wrote the rent check, clipped the Harbor Federal receipt to my new account folder, and put the old pledge copy in a plain white envelope labeled Quinn Family. No signatures. Then I slid the envelope into the back of my file box, behind my birth certificate and my paralegal certificate. My apartment was still small. The radiator still clicked too loudly. The view was still the pharmacy roof. For the first time, I did not apologize to myself for living there. 3 weeks after I renewed my lease, a thin envelope from the State Real Estate Commission arrived in my mailbox, folded between a grocery flyer and the water bill. I carried it upstairs, set my tote on the kitchen chair, and opened it with the butter knife I kept in the drawer beside the stove. The letter did not promise a dramatic punishment. It said my complaint had been assigned a case number, that the commission had requested a response from Gordon Quinn Realty within 20 business days, and that I might be contacted for a sworn statement. At the bottom was a phone extension and a warning not to submit altered or duplicate documents. I taped the case number to the inside of my planner. That same afternoon, Nadia texted me a photo of her desk at the title office. There was a yellow legal pad, a coffee with a plastic lid, and a sticky note that said, Why euro Briar Lane, lender review complete. Why euro? Her message said, Why euro Eukaluma euro S. Lender friend asked for the county index himself. I sent him to Elena Euro's office. He didn't a euro T argue. Why euro? I read it twice before answering. Why euro? I thank you for not letting me feel crazy. Why euro? She replied. Why euro Juerna? Euro T, you had receipts. Why euro? Callum called me. On a Friday at 6:18 p.m., I was standing in the produce aisle at Martina Euro S, holding a mesh bag of onions and trying to decide if I could justify strawberries. His name lit up my phone, and for a second, I nearly let it ring through. I answered. He did not apologize neatly. That would have been easier to doubt. He said, Why euro, Udad? Told me you were trying to embarrass me because you hated the house. Why euro? I looked down at the onions in my hand. Why, I know what he told you. Why euro, I said. Why I shoulda. Euro V asked why you had the title receipt. Why euro, he said. Why I shoulda. Euro V asked what you found before I opened my mouth in front of everyone. Why Euro? A woman beside me reached around for cilantro. The grocery store speaker played an old pop song too softly to identify. I said, why ease? You should have. He exhaled into the phone. Why Euro Thelander is making me clear the lien before anything else moves. Dad says Ida, Euro S. A timing problem. Why Euro? Why Euro Yida, Euro S. A recorded tax lien. Why Euro? I said. Why Euro A? That is not timing. That is a record. Why Euro? Why I know. Why Euro? Callum said, and this time he sounded tired in a way that did not ask me to comfort him. Why Euro Gia Euro M calling because I need to say I was wrong about the toast. Why Euro? I put the onions in my cart. Why Euro? I thank you for saying that. Why Euro? There was no family dinner after that. No group photo where everyone pretended the hallway argument had been a misunderstanding. Gordon sent one more voicemail through my Mathura Euro S phone, saying, why Euro SS has gotten bigger than necessary. Why Euro? I saved it in the same folder as the escrow email. The notarized repayment agreement, Ellen Pricea Euro S stamped lien printout, and the title search receipt from the Clerk Euro S office. The folder is still on my laptop. I named it Why Euro Dodo, not explain away. Why Euro? I still pass 38 Briar Lane sometimes when the bus takes the long route. The porch lights are on, the landscaping is trimmed, and there is a silver grill on the back patio. From the street, it looks like the kind of house people congratulate you for buying. I know now that a house can have fresh paint and a dirty file. A family can smile at a party while using your savings pledge as a cushion. A confident man can call a public record a misunderstanding because he is used to people stepping aside. I am still a renter in Unit 3B above the pharmacy. I still work as a junior paralegal. I still check spellings twice before filing anything. The difference is that when a document says what it says, I do not soften it just because someone with a louder voice wants the room comfortable. I did not get revenge by yelling louder at the housewarming. I got it by refusing to lend my name, my savings, or my silence to a story that was already false. That is the end of my story. If you were standing in that kitchen at 38 Briar Lane with the county tax lien in your hand, would you have corrected the record right there at the party, or waited for the lender to ask for proof? Tell me in the comments, and if you want more stories about family paperwork, public records, and the choices people make when the receipt is on the table, subscribe and turn on notifications. IA Euro LL, put a short list of the proof documents I mentioned in the description.